Chapter 988. Saving 10 patients in the time it took for half an incense stick to burn? Only the old men from the Imperial Hospital could do this. Yin Luophone was such a young genius. Where did she get this kind of ability? Therefore, everyone believed that she would be eliminated on the first level. My beloved, just wait and see. If Yin Luophone refuses to leave, the medicine tower will lose its temper. Long Yuan laughed as he turned his gaze towards the medicine tower and spoke slowly. However, when he looked, his entire expression changed. The medicine tower did not toss Yin Luophone out as he had expected. Instead, it slowly closed up. Once the medicine tower closes, it means that those who have been eliminated have left the medicine tower. Is there something wrong with the medicine tower? Imperial concubine Ling asked as she bit her lip. In an instant, Long Yuan's sharp gaze turned towards the young men who had been eliminated. Have those who have been eliminated left the medicine tower? Is there anyone hiding inside and unwilling to come out? The young men were stunned and shook their heads. No, we're the only ones who have been eliminated. Long Yuan's expression became even uglier. You didn't see Yin Luophone? Reporting to your Imperial Majesty, only a few of us have been eliminated. We didn't see anyone else. No Yin Luophone? How is that possible? Long Yuan clenched his fists tightly as his expression became even more ashen. Half an hour has passed. Why hasn't Yin Luophone been eliminated yet? Similarly, the others were dumbfounded because of this. Yin Luophone hasn't been eliminated? Does this mean that she has successfully entered the next level? Qing Mu and Guiyang looked at each other and saw the shock in each other's eyes. If Yin Luophone has really succeeded, then this woman's talent is unparalleled. Qing Mu, what level do you think Miss Yin will reach? Guiyang slowly regained his composure and asked with a smile. Qing Mu curled his lips. The difficulty of the 4th level has already surpassed the difficulty of the 8th level. Therefore, I'm guessing that she will reach the 3rd or 4th level. Gasp! Hearing this, everyone sucked in a breath of cold air. The difficulty of the 4th level has already surpassed the difficulty of the 8th level. Furthermore, Master Qing Mu said that she will reach the 4th level. A mocking laugh rang out from the crowd. She was only lucky to be able to break through the 1st level. It doesn't mean that she will have the same luck again. So, this time, she will definitely be eliminated. Time ticked by, and before long, half an incense stick's time had passed. The door of the medicine tower opened once again, and a few young men and women appeared at the door dejectedly. However, there was still no sign of Yin Luophone among them. This is impossible. Long Yuan abruptly rose to his feet and stared fixedly at the medicine tower's door. The time limit for the 2nd level has passed. Those who have not been able to save the patients during this period will be chased out of the medicine tower. Why is there still no Yin Luophone? Your Majesty, Imperial concubine Ling hesitated for a while and asked, is there something wrong with the medicine tower? So much so that you closed the door before you could eliminate all the people? When Long Yuan heard this, his gaze turned towards the few dejected people, and he said sternly, have you seen Yin Luophone? Those people were stunned for a moment, then they hurriedly shook their heads. It seems like she hasn't come out yet. If there was a problem with the medicine tower, and not everyone was eliminated, then why did these people claim that they had not seen Yin Luophone? Especially since there were people from Lanxiang country among those who had been eliminated. It was even more impossible for them to have helped Yin Luophone cheat. Chapter 989. Long Yuan's body went limp, and he slumped into his chair. His dignified features were now completely pale, and his expression was extremely ugly. Those who were eliminated still didn't know what happened. They looked at each other, and then someone explained the situation to them. When they heard that the array Yin Luophone faced was used for the Imperial Hospital's assessment, they were dumbfounded. In this subtle atmosphere, half an incense stick of time passed. At the same time, the door of the medicine tower was pushed open. Another group of young people who didn't pass the test stood at the door dejectedly. However, among those people, Yin Luophone was still not there. The 3rd floor's test is over. Since Yin Luophone wasn't eliminated, it means that she has entered the 4th floor. The fourth floor was only accessible to the doctors of the Imperial Hospital. And now, Yin Luofeng had already entered the fourth floor. Hiss! Everyone couldn't help but suck in a breath of cold air as they looked at the closed door of the medicine tower. Guiyang, do you think this girl can successfully enter the fifth floor? Qing Mu's face was full of excitement, and his voice was trembling. No one knew better than the people of the Imperial Hospital how difficult this test was. If Yin Luofeng could successfully break through to the fifth floor, it meant that her strength wasn't much different from the doctors of the Imperial Hospital. But the doctors of the Imperial Hospital were already over 50 years old. How old was this girl? To have such achievements at such a young age, the Tianya nation had really picked up a treasure this time. The time for the fifth floor was also up. Yin Luofeng was still not among the young people who stepped out. The crowd had already become numb from the initial shock. They seemed to have accepted the shock that Yin Luofeng had brought to them. Qing Mu and Guiyang looked at each other and saw the joy in each other's eyes. They could imagine that if Yin Luofeng's actions today were to spread, even the two empires would do their best to win her over. How many floors do you think Yin Luofeng can reach? It's hard to say, but I think she's almost at her limit. The sixth floor will definitely eliminate her. The crowd began to talk. Their eyes were no longer filled with mockery. Instead, they were guessing how far Yin Luofeng could go. The door of the medicine tower opened again. Luchini placed his hands behind his back and walked out with a smile on his face. He looked around and asked, "Where's Yin Luofeng? Are you hiding now that you've lost? You guys should let her out." "Don't worry. I, Luchini, always have tender and protective feelings for the fairer sex. I won't really break her arm." In the medicine pagoda, those who were able to enter the sixth level were already considered geniuses. Therefore, Luchini was certain that Yin Luofeng would not be able to reach this step. What puzzled Luchini was that if it was a normal day, those love-struck fools would definitely surround him and ask about his well-being. But now, not a single one of them came forward. Everyone was looking at him with a strange expression. Luchini finally sensed that something was wrong. He frowned and asked, "What happened?" At this time, Imperial concubine Ling, who was on the high platform, looked a little embarrassed. She said in a stern tone, "Luchini, you've really embarrassed our Lanxiang country." He only reached the sixth floor and came out. Even Yin Luofeng hasn't left the medicine tower. Luchini's face darkened when he heard Imperial concubine Ling's scolding. However, what she said next stunned him. Chapter 990. Yin Luofeng hadn't left the medicine tower? He turned his head in shock and looked at the tightly shut door. His face turned pale in an instant. His pair of gentle eyes were also filled with shock. Imperial concubine Ling simply ignored her. She snorted coldly and looked at the medicine tower with gloomy eyes. Yin Luofeng must not be allowed to live. Among all the countries on the mainland, only a few people could break through to the seventh floor. Once they broke through, they would not be far from the eighth floor. The rule of this competition was that whoever broke through to the eighth floor and completed the task within the eighth floor would receive a jade token from the heavenly Hui Empire. Obtaining this token would prove that one had passed the entire medicine tower. After all, although the medicine tower had a time limit, one had to enter the next floor within half an hour. It wasn't impossible to complete the task ahead of time. For example, if a loser was eliminated from the fifth floor, there might be a genius who had successfully entered the seventh floor. That was why the jade token was used as proof. Whoever obtained the jade token would be first. Time passed. It was already dusk. The door of the medicine tower opened to everyone's anticipation. The dusky sunlight poured down and fell on the girl standing at the entrance of the medicine tower. The girl's clothes were as white as snow. Her eyebrows were like a painting, and the corners of her lips were raised in an evil smile. Her beauty was unparalleled. Luchini forgot that he had lost the competition. He stared blankly at the peerless beauty in front of him. His gentle eyes were filled with amazement. For more than 20 years, there had been countless women by his side, but none of them had been so breathtakingly beautiful. "Miss Yin, you came out?" Qing Mu laughed. "It's okay. It's good enough that you were able to enter the seventh floor. Moreover, your array was difficult. Even if you only reached the fourth floor, you would still be able to surpass those who entered the 8th floor. Qing Mu's words made the girl frown. A strange light flashed in her eyes. Just then, Long Yuan's cold voice came from above. A failure is a failure. She was kicked out of the 7th floor, which proves that she is not first in this competition. But Miss Yun's test was many times more difficult than the others. Qing Mu still wanted to argue for Yun Luofeng. In his opinion, Yun Luofeng deserved the title of champion. Unexpectedly, Long Yuan ignored Qing Mu's words. I don't care what kind of test she has received. Since she is not the first person to break through the 8th level, it means that she has also lost. He raised his chin slightly and looked down at Yun Luofeng. Yun Luofeng, do you have any objections to my judgment? Yun Luofeng acted as if he did not see the dragon essence and turned to Greenwood as he said, I just picked up something in a medicine tower, but I don't know what it is, so I took it out. Grandmaster Greenwood, please appraise it. After speaking, Yun Luofeng reached into his clothes and took out a jade pendant, handing it to Qing Mu. We saw the jade pendant in Qing Mu's hand. Long Yuan's cold and stern expression changed drastically. His voice trembled as he asked, Where did you get this jade pendant from? I have already made myself very clear. I picked it up in the medicine tower. Yun Luofeng glanced at Long Yuan evilly and said indifferently, It was also this jade pendant that sent me to the exit. Chapter 991. Qing Mu was stunned. He stared at the words Tianhui Empire on the jade pendant and stared blankly at Yun Luofeng. Miss Yun, what level did you get to? Yun Luofeng frowned and thought for a while, then said, I think I was on the 8th level. After I cured the patients on the 8th level, this jade pendant appeared. I wanted to pick it up and take a look, but as soon as I touched it, I was already at the exit. Boom! Like a bolt out of the blue, the entire square became silent. Everyone's eyes were filled with surprise, shock, and even fanaticism as they stared at Yun Luofeng. Not to mention Lu Chenyi, who didn't understand what was going on. Even Yun Luofeng himself was stunned. He didn't understand the situation before him. You really cured the patients on the 8th level. Qing Mu's breathing quickened as he stared at Yun Luofeng. Under the old man's excited gaze, Yun Luofeng nodded. In actuality, Qing Mu's words were unnecessary. Just the jade pendant that Yun Luofeng had given him was enough to prove this girl's strength. He just couldn't believe it, so he wanted to confirm it again. After getting Yun Luofeng's confirmation, Qing Mu suddenly laughed out loud. Genius! This is definitely an unprecedented genius. The first person to ever do this. Lu Chenyi was stunned. The first person to ever do this? Wasn't Master Qing Mu a bit too exaggerated? Master Qing Mu, the geniuses from the 3 empires also have the strength to complete the 8th level. It's just that they weren't as fast as Yun Luofeng. Doesn't that mean that the geniuses from the 3 empires are unprecedented? Qing Mu snorted. How can those people compare to Miss Yun? Just now, in the illusion, wasn't it very difficult for you to save one person? But did you know that Miss Yun saved 10 patients with different illnesses on each level? And even in such a situation, she was still able to obtain the jade pendant before the others. How dare you say that those people can compare to her? What? Lu Chenyi's face was filled with shock. He couldn't help but take 2 steps back as he stared at Yun Luofeng. No wonder the others looked at him strangely when he said those words. It was no wonder that when Yun Luofeng came out, even the flower addicts who used to surround him also looked at him with fanatical gazes. It turned out that the illusionary realm that Yun Luofeng fell into was not on the same level as his. How could they compare? As far as he knew, Master Greenwood and Master Guiyang had failed to reach the 5th level. Even if the strength of these 2 old men had increased, they still wouldn't be able to reach the 8th level. But not only had Yun Luofeng arrived, but he had also successfully cleared the stage in such a short amount of time. Since ancient times, who could do it? When he thought of this, Lu Chenyi's face turned deathly pale. For the first time, he regretted becoming enemies with Yun Luofeng. Don't forget the bet between us. Yun Luofeng's gaze gradually fell on Lu Chenyi. His lips curved into a smile. Now, do you want to cripple your own arm, or do you want me to help you? Lu Chenyi's face turned pale, and he took 2 steps back. Miss Yin, are you really going to push me too far? Force you? No, I'm not forcing you. I'm just fulfilling your wish. Yin Luofeng smiled evilly at Lu Chenyi and took a few steps closer to him. After all, you were the one who proposed this bet. I was forced to accept it. Chapter 992. Yin Luofeng had already walked up to Lu Chenyi and was looking down at him with a slight smile. Lu Chenyi's face turned even paler, as if he was being oppressed by the girl's gaze. He looked pleadingly at Imperial Concubine Ling and pleaded, "Imperial Concubine, save me." He had not seen all the beauties in the world yet. How could he lose his life here? Imperial Concubine Ling's beautiful face darkened, and she glared at Yin Luofeng. Yin Luofeng, the rules of the competition state that members are not allowed to make private bets. All bets are invalid. Yin Luofeng raised his brows. Why haven't I heard of this rule before? Humph. Imperial Concubine Ling snorted. I made this rule in private. You're just ignorant if you haven't heard of it. I'm ordering you not to touch a single hair on Lu Chenyi's head. She slammed her fair, jade-like hand heavily on the table. Her willowy eyebrows furrowed, and her voice was stern. Lu Chenyi heaved a sigh of relief. With Imperial Concubine Ling's protection, his arm was safe. However, at that moment, a sharp sword light flashed and instantly severed the tendon in Lu Chenyi's arm. Blood spurted out, accompanied by a shrill cry that resounded throughout the world. Everyone was dumbfounded and turned to look at the girl in white who was standing under the gentle breeze. The girl had a faint smile on her face. Her picturesque features were stunning. She smiled at the shocked and angry gazes as her snow-white robe fluttered in the wind. Yin Luofeng, Long Yuan's rage surged into the sky, and he suddenly stood up and berated in a stern voice. How audacious of you! You actually dare to commit murder in court. Guards, seize her! Qing Mu and the others were also shocked by Yin Luofeng's behavior and smiled bitterly. This girl really didn't want to suffer any losses. Since Lu Chenyi had agreed to make a bet with her, she must make it come true. Your Imperial Majesty. Qing Mu sighed and stepped forward. He cupped his fists and said, Miss Yin is not to be blamed for this. Lu Chenyi provoked her first. Besides, if Miss Yin is the one who fails this time, he will not let her off so easily either. Your Majesty, your ladyship, will you protect her when the time comes? Imperial Concubine Ling's eyes darkened. She said coldly, I've always been fair. If Yin Luofeng had lost, I wouldn't have let Lu Chenyi cripple her arm. But she dared to disobey this consort's orders. This kind of woman must be planted. Greenwood was so angry that his entire body trembled. He wanted to plead for Yin Luofeng, but the girl's lazy voice drifted into his ears. Master Qing Mu, this has nothing to do with you. Don't get involved. Greenwood was startled and raised his head to look at Yin Luofeng's back. A bitter smile appeared on his face. How could he not know that this lass was afraid that Her Majesty would vent his anger on him, so she did not want him to get involved? Did you just say that I broke Lu Chenyi's arm? Yin Luofeng smiled and looked at Long Yuan and Imperial Concubine Ling. Then I'd like to ask you, which eye did you see it with? Long Yuan was stunned. Indeed, they had only seen a flash of light, and Lu Chenyi's arm had been broken. As for who had done it, it had not been revealed. Who else could it be but you? Imperial Concubine Ling said coldly. Lu Chenyi made a bet with you. Moreover, you said that you would break his arm. Now that his tendons have been cut, no one would do it except for you. Chapter 993. Yin Luofeng shrugged helplessly. If you want to frame me, I have no other choice. Maybe Lu Chenyi is too arrogant and has made a lot of enemies. Maybe someone saw the fight between me and Lu Chenyi, and that's why he crippled his hand. Arrogant? Everyone's mouths twitched when they heard this. Lu Chenyi wasn't as arrogant as you, was he? But what Yin Luofeng said was true. No one saw her make a move just now. But Lu Chenyi was already crippled. Perhaps someone really did it in secret, trying to frame her. You, Imperial Concubine Ling pointed angrily at Yin Luofeng. Her beautiful face was filled with anger, and her beautiful eyes flashed with anger. Beloved concubine, venerable dragon source grasped Imperial Concubine Ling's hand and turned his gaze to Yun Luofeng. Yin Luofeng, if you don't want people to know, don't do it. We will send people to investigate this matter thoroughly. If they find out that you were the one who did it, you can forget about leaving the Qiani Empire. He snorted, stood up, and walked down the platform with the help of a palace maid. If Yin Luofeng really injured Lu Chini, then he could take her down. However, no one saw Yin Luofeng attack. If he cheated, it would definitely cause dissatisfaction among the nations. This was something that Long Yuan was very clear about. On the platform, Imperial concubine Ling slowly stood up. She clenched her fists and glared at Yin Luofeng. She would let this girl have her way now. When the martial arts competition came, she would die a horrible death. Master, sister-in-law. Yishima and the others quickly walked to Yun Luofeng's side. Their eyes were full of joy. Sister-in-law, this time, you won the championship for our heavenly cloud nation. You will always be our pride. Over the years, even if Yishima was not in Kargalik, he would be summoned back before the National League tournament. Unfortunately, the people of Heavenly Cloud Nation were always at the bottom of the list, whether it was the medical competition or the martial arts competition. They had never been shaken. But now, with the appearance of Yin Luofeng, not only did the Heavenly Cloud Nation break away from its position of being the laggard for thousands of years, but also rush to the forefront in an instant. How could he not be excited? The surrounding people also looked at each other. In the end, a genius from a certain country mustered up his courage and walked in front of Yin Luofeng. His face was full of shame. I'm sorry. I even talked about you like that before. I'm really sorry. The genius girl lowered her head to Yin Luofeng and bowed deeply. In the mainland, if one wanted to gain the respect of others, then one must possess enough strength to shock the world. Otherwise, one could only face the mockery and ridicule of others forever. However, once you display super strength, even those who used to look down on you will look at you in a different light. Yin Luofeng glanced at the woman in front of him, and his lips curled into a smile. The curve of her lips was very beautiful, but it was also very evil. If Yin Luofeng was a man, his smile would definitely enchant the hearts of many young girls. As long as you don't rely on subjective assumptions to rely on one person in the future. Also, if you want to find a man, you need to keep your eyes open. A person like Lu Chini is destined to be fickle. The genius girl's face turned red. She lowered her head and said, I won't worship him anymore. Chapter 994. As a physician, she admired Lu Chini not only because of his handsome appearance, but also because of his talent as a physician. Apart from the geniuses of the three empires, Lu Chini was perhaps the most talented physician. However, Yin Luofeng's appearance shattered all of this. The woman stole a glance at Yin Luofeng from the corner of her eyes shining with longing. A genius like this was worthy of her lifetime's admiration. Even if the other party was also a woman. Is there anything else? Yin Luofeng raised his eyebrows as he looked at the woman who had yet to leave. The woman's face turned even redder, and she replied in a voice as soft as a mosquito, No, nothing. With that, she hurriedly left. However, before she left, she turned to look at Yin Luofeng again. TSK. Yishima laughed heartily. He put his arm around Yin Luofeng's shoulder and moved his head closer. Sister-in-law, it seems like you like both men and women. Yin Luofeng's face darkened, and he pushed Yishima's hand away from his shoulder. If Yin Xiao sees what you're doing, he'll definitely throw you a million miles away. The corner of Yishima's mouth twitched, and he awkwardly lowered his arm. That second brother of mine is not only a vinegar jar, but I also don't know who he inherited his cold personality from. His adoptive mother was such a domineering person, but she gave birth to a son with facial paralysis. However, the only person who can cure his facial paralysis is you, sister-in-law. Yishima winked at Yin Luofeng as he spoke with a smile. Yin Luofeng's eyes warmed as he thought of Yin Xiao. His black eyes were like the stars in the night sky, bright and piercingly bright. Not far away, Xiao Yuqing's cold eyes lingered on the young girl. There was a hint of infatuation in her eyes. However, The light in the young girl's eyes was like a thorn that pierced his heart, causing him to clench his fists while he was staring at Yin Luofeng. He did not know that there was also an infatuated gaze staring at him from behind. After the competition ended, Yin Luofeng returned to the courtyard. Before she had time to rest, there was a commotion outside the courtyard. There were even sounds of fighting. "Fire, let's go. Let's go and see what's going on." After Yin Luofeng said this, he slammed the door and left. The quarreling people in the courtyard heard the movement behind them. They all stopped and turned to look at her sister-in-law. Yishima was stunned. "Did we disturb your rest?" Yin Luofeng did not say anything. He narrowed his eyes and looked at the uninvited guest opposite Yishima. A dangerous glint flashed across his eyes. "Who can tell me what happened?" Hee. A sneer suddenly sounded out, and then the group of people moved aside. It wasn't long before a tall figure appeared within her field of vision. Xiao Feihua. She already knew that since she injured Lu Qinyi, the people from Lanxiang Nation wouldn't let her off. Yin Luofeng. Xiao Feihua slightly raised his chin and arrogantly said, "You touched the people of my Lanxiang Nation. How should I settle this debt with you?" Yin Luofeng curled his lips. "Which eye of yours saw that I injured him? It doesn't matter if you don't admit it, as long as I believe that you injured him." Xiao Feihua's eyes were filled with viciousness. "Your Tianyu Nation will always be at the bottom. How dare you injure my people? Honestly speaking, in this physician tournament, are you all going to be in last place once again?" Chapter 995. Xiao Feihua's words startled the people around him, and a trace of awkwardness flashed across their faces. Xiao Feihua didn't go to the competition today. Instead, he went to the brothel to have fun. When he heard that Yin Luofeng injured Lu Qinyi, he immediately rushed over in anger. As a result, he still didn't know what happened in the competition. "Your Highness, Tianyu Nation." A guard was afraid that Xiao Feihua would continue to embarrass himself, so he wanted to tell him about the competition. However, he was interrupted by Xiao Feihua's impatient voice. "What's wrong with Tianyu Nation? There's no way to survive after offending my Lanxiang Nation. I'm guessing that Lu Qinyi must have defeated Yin Luofeng in the competition, which made her so angry that she wanted to kill him. If you really can't afford to lose, then don't come to the competition to embarrass yourself." The guards who were originally aggressive were so ashamed when they heard Xiao Feihua's words that they couldn't wait to find a hole to hide in. Only those who followed Xiao Feihua to the brothel didn't know what was going on. They still stood proudly next to Xiao Feihua. Yishima was dumbfounded. He blinked his eyes, and his face was full of confusion. Is this Xiao Feihua stupid? How could he say that his sister-in-law lost to Lu Qinyi and hurt him because she was angry? Lu Qinyi asked you to come and avenge him. Didn't he tell you about the competition? He couldn't help but ask the question that was in his mind. What situation? Xiao Feihua snorted. I don't need him to tell me. Yin Luofeng, if you really can't afford to lose, go back to your mother and drink milk. Don't embarrass yourself here, haha. Xiao Feihua laughed wildly. However, only a few people in the Lanxiang Nation's team laughed with him. The others were so embarrassed that they wanted to kill themselves. How could they laugh? Embarrass themselves? You're the one who's embarrassing yourself. However, Xiao Feihua was their master, so they didn't dare to show their displeasure. Gradually, Yin Luofeng's courtyard was surrounded by a lot of people. Some of them had participated in the competition, so when they heard Xiao Feihua's words, they couldn't help but laugh. What are you laughing at? Xiao Feihua frowned and looked coldly at the person who had laughed. He said fiercely, Is this prince wrong? This Yin Luofeng was someone who didn't even dare to admit defeat. The Heavenly Cloud Nation is also the weakest nation in the past 10,000 years. Suddenly, a swift and fierce gust of wind assaulted him. When Xiao Feihua came back to his senses, he saw a foot right in front of him. His pupils suddenly widened, and just as he was about to curse out in anger, the kick sent him flying. With a bang, his body fell to the ground in a sorry state, right in front of a pair of toes. TSK, TSK. Youngsters nowadays are really violent. Xiao Feihua, who originally had a belly full of anger, immediately flew into a rage when he heard this aged voice. He cursed loudly. Where did this old man come from? Hurry up and scram for this prince. Otherwise, be careful of this prince. He quickly climbed to his feet and turned around, wanting to continue cursing at the old man in front of him. Unexpectedly, a familiar face entered his line of sight, causing his eyes to widen and his face to fill with terror. Otherwise what? Guiyang smiled and asked kindly. The old man's kind smile made Xiao Feihua's heart tremble, and he almost cried out in fear. Go! Master Guiyang, why are you here? Chapter 996. Guiyang smiled faintly. I am the referee of this competition. Now that the competition is over, I am here to give out the prize. Oh, I see. Xiao Feihua stroked his wildly beating heart and chuckled as he tried to get close to her. Master Guiyang, who is the champion of this competition? Which genius from the 3 empires is it? Guiyang looked at Xiao Feihua strangely. I said I am here to give out the prize. Why are you asking me who is the champion? Xiao Feihua was stunned for a moment. Like a monk scratching his head in confusion, he asked doubtfully, Master Guiyang, are you in the wrong place? This is the courtyard of the heavenly cloud nation. The people from the other 2 empires do not live here. This old man is not in the wrong place. Guiyang's face sank and said impatiently, the champion of this competition is Yun Luofeng from the heavenly cloud nation. Boom! It was as if a bolt of lightning had struck Xiao Feihua's head, causing the smiling Xiao Feihua to be petrified. Champion of the competition? Yun Luofeng? Impossible! The heavenly cloud nation is at the bottom of the world. How could they be the champion of the competition? Master Guiyang, you must be mistaken. It is impossible for the heavenly cloud nation to be the champion. Only the geniuses from the 3 empires have this kind of strength. Xiao Feihua swallowed hard. His back was already soaked with cold sweat, and his teeth were trembling. He really can associate Yin Luofeng with the champion? Guiyang glanced at Xiao Feihua coldly. I am afraid that Lu Qinyi from your Lanxiang nation knows this better. He made a bet with Miss Yun, and if he lost, he would have to break one of his arms. Before you question this old man, go back and see Lu Qinyi first. Xiao Feihua staggered and almost fell to the ground. Lu Qinyi was injured not because Yun Luofeng lost the competition, but because of the bet between the two. Of them, suddenly, he turned to the guards behind him and said angrily, Do you know the truth? Why didn't you tell this prince the truth? Thinking of his behavior just now, Xiao Feihua really wanted to find a hole to hide in. At least it was better than being embarrassed here. The guards were suffering in silence. They had wanted to remind His Highness, but His Highness had interrupted them. They were afraid of angering His Highness, so they didn't dare to say another word. Who knew that His Highness would push the blame onto them? I'll deal with you when we get back, Xiao Feihua said fiercely. He then turned to Yin Luofeng and snorted. Don't think that just because you won the doctor's convention, it proves that your heavenly cloud nation is strong. If you lose the next 2 matches, you will still be at the bottom. Let's go. He flung his sleeves forcefully and led a group of guards away like stray dogs. He no longer had the arrogance of charging over. When Xiao Feihua returned to Lanxiang Nation's territory, the first thing he did was to find Lu Qinyi to settle the debt. If it wasn't for Lu Qinyi, he wouldn't have lost his face in front of everyone. Poor Lu Qinyi. He had already lost an arm. Now, he had to face Xiao Feihua's anger. It was only at this moment that he felt regret in his heart. More than that, he felt endless despair. On the contrary, Yin Luofeng returned to her room under the gaze of everyone. She immediately closed the door and declined everyone's visit. She was preparing for tomorrow's competition. Chapter 997. Guiyang smiled faintly. I am the referee of this competition. Now that the competition is over, I am here to give out the prize. Oh, I see. Xiao Feihua stroked his wildly beating heart and chuckled as he tried to get close to her. Master Guiyang, who is the champion of this competition? Which genius from the 3 empires is it? Guiyang looked at Xiao Feihua strangely. I said I'm here to give out the prize. Why are you still asking me who is the champion? Xiao Feihua was stunned for a moment. Like a monk scratching his head, he asked doubtfully, Master Guiyang, are you in the wrong place? This is the courtyard of heavenly cloud nation. The people from the two empires do not live here. This old man is not in the wrong place. Guiyang's face sank and said impatiently, "The champion of this competition is Yun Luofeng from Heavenly Cloud Nation." Boom! It was as if a bolt of lightning had struck Qiu Feihua, causing the smiling Qiu Feihua to be petrified. Champion of the competition? Yun Luofeng? Impossible. Heavenly Cloud Nation has been at the bottom for thousands of years. How could they be the champion of the competition? Master Guiyang, you must be mistaken. It is impossible for Heavenly Cloud Nation to be the champion. Only the geniuses from the three empires have this kind of strength. Qiu Feihua swallowed hard. His back was already soaked with cold sweat, and his teeth were trembling. He really couldn't associate Yun Luofeng with the champion? Guiyang glanced at Qiu Feihua coldly. "I am afraid that Lu Qinyi from your Lanxiang Nation knows more about this matter. He made a bet with Miss Yun, and if he lost, he would have to cut off one of his arms. Before you question this old man, go back and see Lu Qinyi first." Qiu Feihua staggered and almost fell to the ground. Wasn't Lu Qinyi injured because Yun Luofeng lost the duel and flew into a rage? But because of the bet between the two of them? Suddenly, he turned to the guards behind him and said angrily, "Do you know the truth? Why didn't you tell this prince the truth?" Thinking of his behavior just now, Qiu Feihua really wanted to find a hole to hide in. At least it was better than embarrassing himself here. The guards were suffering in silence. They had wanted to remind His Highness, but His Highness had interrupted them. They were afraid of angering His Highness, so they didn't dare to say another word. Who knew that His Highness would push the blame onto them? "I'll deal with you when we get back," Qiu Feihua said fiercely. He then turned to Yun Luofeng and snorted, "Don't think that just because you won the doctor's convention, it proves that your Heavenly Cloud Nation is strong. If you lose the next 2 matches, you will still be at the bottom. Let's go." He flung his sleeves forcefully and led a group of guards away like stray dogs. He no longer had the arrogance of charging over. When Qiu Feihua returned to Lanxiang Nation's territory, the first thing he did was to find Lu Qinyi to settle the debt. If it wasn't for Lu Qinyi, he wouldn't have lost his face in front of everyone. Poor Lu Qinyi. He had already lost an arm. Now, he had to face Qiu Feihua's anger. It was only at this moment that he felt regret in his heart. More than that, there was endless despair. On the contrary, Yun Luofeng returned to her room under the gaze of everyone. Immediately, she closed the door and declined everyone's visit. She was preparing for tomorrow's competition. Chapter 998. Xiao Yuqing was startled and shook his head. "This is not your fault. I have never blamed you." Perhaps Xiao Yuqing's mother would never have guessed that she had painstakingly sent Xiao Yuqing away so that he could avenge her. Who would have thought that Xiao Yuqing would fall so deeply into it that he would even forget about revenge? "I still have things to do, so I'll be leaving first." Xiao Yuqing slowly turned around and left in a hurry. He was afraid that if he continued to stay, his yearning for her for so many years would be uncontrollably vented out. He was even more afraid of seeing her disgusted eyes. "Master!" Fire looked in the direction Xiao Yuqing left and blinked. "Does this guy like you?" Yun Luofeng shook his head. "I do not have a deep relationship with him, and even if he does not seek revenge for his parents, he will not have any feelings for me. Because she was the enemy who killed his mother." Fire curled his lips. It seemed that his master only had Yun Xiao in his heart. This Xiao Yuqing had obviously shown it so clearly, but his master could not feel it. "Master, I think the Xiao Yuqing looks pretty good, but unfortunately he is not even half as good as Yun Xiao. Since you have Yun Xiao, of course you won't care about other men." Yun Luofeng laughed. "What? Are you interested in Xiao Yuqing?" Fire's small face darkened. "This guy's personality is not what I like. I am not interested in him." "Then do you have anyone who is interested?" Yun Luofeng looked at Fire with a smile that was not a smile. Fire was startled. A gentle and refined figure suddenly appeared in her mind. Perhaps afraid that Yun Luofeng would see through her heart, she quickly turned her head and said with a red face, "I don't have." Because the person she liked no longer existed in this world, Fire's eyes dimmed, and a bitter expression hung on his small face. That person, he had probably reincarnated many times and had even removed himself from his memories. Yin Luofeng did not ask any more questions. She stretched and walked toward the bed. It's getting late. I'll rest first. I still have to continue the competition tomorrow. The next day, early morning, a stage was set up in the venue. There was a sea of people, and at a glance, it was densely packed with human heads. The originally noisy crowd became even livelier after seeing the arrival of the Heavenly Cloud Nation's people. It's Yin Luofeng. I've already heard that she obtained first place in the physician conference. TSK, so what? Her medical skills are good, but that doesn't mean she's strong. You don't know, do you? A few days ago, the envoy from the Lanxiang Nation went to challenge the Heavenly Cloud Nation, but he was kicked out by Yin Luofeng. Yesterday, when Prince Qiu Feihua of Azure Flight Nation went to find trouble with her, he was also sent flying with a single kick from her. I think this Yin Luofeng is also very strong. So what if she's strong? Only a few of the people under her command have broken through to the celestial spirit realm. This time, the competition is not an individual competition, but an entire team. If one person in the team falls back, the entire team will lose without a doubt. Some people believed that Yin Luofeng would continue to create miracles, but more people were not optimistic about Heavenly Cloud Nation. Although Yin Luofeng was strong, he had dragged down too many people. Even if the Heavenly Cloud Nation was no longer at the bottom of the rankings this time, they would never be at the top. As if they did not hear those discussions, the members of the Steel Flame Legion followed behind Yin Luofeng expressionlessly. Drag them down? Before they came to the limitless continent, they swore that they would never drag their master down. Chapter 999. His Majesty and Imperial Concubine Ling have arrived. Following the eunuch's sharp voice, Long Yuan and Imperial Concubine Ling appeared in front of the crowd. Long Yuan was still wearing a dragon robe, looking majestic. Imperial Concubine Ling's face was full of smiles. Her beautiful eyes were sparkling and beautiful. Everyone, today, is the second competition held by the Tianhui Empire, the martial artist competition. Long Yuan flicked his sleeves and sat down, his sharp eyes looking around. General Li will explain the rules of the competition. As soon as he finished speaking, a well-built middle-aged man quickly walked out. His eyes were stern and his voice was cold. The martial artist competition is divided into the preliminary round, semi-finals, and finals. General Li cleared his throat and continued. The preliminary round is very simple. Later, I will send you into the illusion. There are countless spiritual beasts in the illusion. Your task is to kill those spiritual beasts. Spiritual beasts below the level of Earth Spirit will get 1 point. Earth Spirit beasts will get 2 points. Celestial Spirit beasts will get 3 points. So on and so forth. Teams that kill more than 500 points will successfully advance to the semifinals. If they do not have 500 points, they will be eliminated. In addition, if you die in this illusion, you will be sent out. Therefore, there's no need to worry about your safety. In other words, if one died in the illusion, it would not be a real death, but a failure of the task, and they would be sent out of the illusion. But, General Li paused and continued, if one person dies in a team, it means that the whole team has failed. I hope that some people do not fall behind the team. Everyone in the venue turned to look at the members of the Steel Flame Legion in unison. In their eyes, these people were the ones who would drag them down. General Li's sharp eyes swept across the crowd, and he said in a deep voice, the time limit of the competition is 7 days. After 7 days, you will be forced to leave the illusion. I wish you good luck. After saying this, he turned around and bowed to Long Yuan. Your Majesty, I have finished explaining the rules. Next, I will open the illusion. Let's begin. Long Yuan waved his hand and said coldly. His dignified gaze inadvertently landed on Yin Luofeng in the crowd, and a cold light flashed in his narrowed eyes. Yin Luofeng had already become the champion of the physician tournament, so no matter what, they mustn't allow her to continue winning. When the array was activated, all the participating disciples fell into an illusion. At the same time, a few lines of numbers appeared in the sky outside the formation. The numbers corresponded to the names of the various countries, Master. Within the illusion, little Mo sensed Yin Luofeng's unease and couldn't help but ask, "What happened?" Yin Luofeng collected his thoughts and said faintly, "There are too many formations in this Tianhui Empire. Moreover, I feel that these formations are similar to the ones I inherited from Zhu Qian. So, you think that Zhu Qian might be related to the Heavenly Hui Empire?" Little Mo frowned and asked. Yun Luofeng shook his head. "It might not be Zhu Qian. Have you forgotten? Zhu Qian once had a rebellious disciple. On that day, that disciple had threatened their lives, but a trace of Zhu Qian's remnant soul had appeared and saved them." Yin Luofeng's eyes flashed. No matter what relationship the Tianhui Empire had with Zhu Qian, they were destined to be enemies. Chapter 1000. Yi Ling, Qing Yin. Yin Luofeng turned to look at the army and said in a deep voice, "In the next few days, you will kill the spirit beasts. I will not interfere. Let me see your current strength." "Yes, Master." Everyone in the army was full of fighting spirit, each of their eyebrows glowing brightly. They had followed Yin Luofeng for many years, but this was the first time they showed their strength in front of her. Therefore, they would not let her down and would definitely use all their strength to deal with this assessment. "Very, very good." Yin Luofeng raised his eyebrows and smiled lightly. "Big brother Xiaobai, these few days, you don't need to intervene. Just let the army fight to their heart's content. Strength could not be improved by cultivation. What could really make one stronger was also indispensable in battle. Although the members of the Steel Flame Legion were all extremely powerful, they still lacked tempering. Perhaps this would be an excellent opportunity for them to do so. Outside the illusion, the numbers had begun to rise by leaps and bounds, especially the Peerless Empire, whose number had already soared to 30 points. The Flowing Moon Empire and the Tianhui Empire followed closely behind, followed by the Wind Cloud Empire and the Lanxiang Empire. These two countries were like a dark horse, instantly breaking through to the front of the crowd. "I wonder who is at the bottom of the competition this time?" As soon as these words fell, everyone unconsciously turned to look at the last place. In the last place, the three words Heavenly Cloud Nation were reflected in everyone's eyes, corresponding to the unexpected number. 0. The number of the Heavenly Cloud Nation was actually 0. In other words, in the past half a quarter of an hour, the Heavenly Cloud Nation had not been able to kill a single spirit beast. Just how weak were they to make their numbers appear as 0? TSK, it seems that we really overestimated the Heavenly Cloud Nation. I originally thought that with the existence of Yin Luofeng, no matter how weak they were, they would not be at the bottom. Now it seems that I thought too much. I remember that when they first registered, their strength was not bad. How could they not even be able to kill a single spirit beast? Haha, perhaps the people of the Heavenly Cloud Nation are timid and found a place to hide. In the venue, the sounds of discussion mixed with ridicule spread throughout the entire venue. At the same time, in the depths of the illusion, Yin Luofeng was lying lazily under a tree. She held the back of her head with her left hand and leaned against the tree trunk in a devilish manner. There was a smile on her face as she looked deeply at the army fighting the spiritual beasts. It must be said that she was very unlucky this time because the first spirit beast she encountered was a celestial spiritualist. In particular, the one in the lead had become an advanced celestial spiritualist long ago, which was only a step away from becoming a venerable spiritualist. It was very difficult for everyone in the army to deal with it. Even so, they did not think of giving up, nor did they consider asking Yin Luofeng for help. They were only using all their strength to fight against these spirit beasts. Finally, a spirit beast fell into a pool of blood under everyone's concerted efforts. With the death of one spirit beast, the other spirit beasts also couldn't withstand the crazy killing methods of this group of lunatics. One by one, they lost the ability to fight and were then killed by the army. It's moving. The number of the Heavenly Cloud Nation has moved. In the venue, those who stared at the data without blinking suddenly noticed that the number of the Heavenly Cloud Nation had changed, and suddenly their eyes widened. 3 points, 15 points, 24 points. Looking at the constantly rising number, everyone was a little dazzled. Chapter 1001. Not long after, Heavenly Cloud Nation rushed to the front and was only a few places away from Lanxiang Nation. Everyone gasped. They didn't understand what happened. Why did Heavenly Cloud Nation's data increase so quickly? 11th place. Heavenly Cloud Nation has reached 11th place. Do you think Heavenly Cloud Nation can enter the top 10? I think it's very dangerous. The top 10 are all famous forces. According to Heavenly Cloud Nation's strength, they may not be able to enter the top 10. Just as this person said, in the next few days, even though Heavenly Cloud Nation's data kept increasing, it still didn't reach the top 10. Instead, it stayed firmly at the 11th place. Even so, Heavenly Cloud Nation's position in the hearts of the people changed. 6 days passed quickly, and in the blink of an eye, there was only 1 day left. In these 6 days, apart from eating, drinking, and sleeping, the crowd spent the rest of their time in the venue, staring at the soaring numbers. Perhaps it was because the rankings had already been determined on the first day. Hence, in the past few days, the rankings had not changed at all. The Peerless Empire still maintained its unshakable position, while the Heavenly Cloud Nation was still ranked 11th. I think Heavenly Cloud Nation has no hope of entering the top 10. Among the crowd, a young man shook his head and said regretfully, Lanxiang Nation lost to Heavenly Cloud Nation in medical skills, but they won in the competition. It's not a loss. That's not necessarily true. This is just an elimination round. As long as they can enter the top 15, they can enter the semifinals. So, an elimination round doesn't mean anything. For Heavenly Cloud Nation, some people still held hope in their hearts. After all, every year it was the same few forces that won, and it was too boring. If Yin Luofeng was a dark horse and entered the semifinals, it would definitely cause a climax. An illusion. Yin Luofeng's body slowly left the tree trunk and stood up from the ground. She was wearing a spotless white dress, and her beautiful face raised a wicked smile. The competition has passed for 6 days, and now there's only 1 day left. In that case, it's time for me to make my move. In the noisy venue, everyone's eyes were fixed on the 3 countries in front, unable to take their eyes off of them. From their point of view, the rankings at the back were basically set, and there would not be any changes. However, the top 3 empires might be able to break through the previous rankings. This was especially so for the Flowing Moon Empire, which was in 2nd place. They were 20 points behind the Peerless Empire. At this moment, a scream suddenly rang out, instantly attracting the attention of everyone in the venue. Heavenly Cloud Nation has reached the 10th place. What? Heavenly Cloud Nation reached the 10th place? In an instant, everyone's eyes fell on the data of the Heavenly Cloud Nation. When they saw the rapidly changing data, their expressions became particularly interesting. What's going on? How did Heavenly Cloud Nation's data rise so quickly? My God, Heavenly Cloud Nation suddenly rushed to the 7th place. Skipping over the 9th and 8th ranks, what exactly happened? Is there something wrong with the data? Long Yuan was also shocked by the sudden change and hurriedly ordered the person next to him to investigate the situation. However, when that person went down to investigate, he found that there was indeed nothing wrong with the illusion. Chapter 1002. In other words, the data was real. Your Majesty, Imperial Concubine Ling finally became nervous and held Long Yuan's hand tightly. Her eyes were full of worry. There is no problem with the illusion and the data is not wrong. Why did this happen? Generally pondered for a while and said with a complicated expression, this only proves one thing. Heavenly Cloud Nation was hiding their strength from start. Now, they're showing their true strength. Hiding their strength? Imperial Concubine Ling was stunned. Why did they do this? I don't know. Generally turned to look at Long Yuan and said, Your Majesty, Yin Luofeng is too mysterious. Are we really going to deal with her? Long Yuan's eyes flashed coldly, and he said coldly, No matter how talented she is still too young. I don't believe that we can't deal with a little girl like her. Hearing this, General Li shook his head helplessly. However, he was a subject and had to obey any order from the emperor. 5th place. Heavenly Cloud Nation has replaced Lanxiang Nation in 5th place. A shocked voice came from the noisy crowd. In such a short period of time, Heavenly Cloud Nation had rushed from 11th place to 5th place. How could they not be shocked? At this moment, everyone's breathing was tense, and their eyes did not dare to look away from Heavenly Cloud Nation's data. 4th place. When they saw that Heavenly Cloud Nation had pushed Feng Yin Nation down, they were no longer shocked. Instead, they gradually calmed down. I wonder how far Heavenly Cloud Nation can climb. Can they break into the top 3? There is a difference of 500 points between 3rd and 4th place. No matter how strong Heavenly Cloud Nation is, it is impossible to break through in such a short period of time, right? Although they said so, their eyes were still filled with anticipation. They had already forgotten about their own nation and only hoped that Yin Luofeng could break into the top 3. Time was racing against time. The distance between Heavenly Cloud Nation and Tianhui Empire was getting closer and closer. The difference between the two had changed from the initial 500 points to 100 points. Long Yuan's legs were a little weak, and he sat paralyzed on the throne. He looked at the jumping data of Heavenly Cloud Nation with a pale face. It's over. This time, he could not even keep his 3rd place, let alone surpass the 2 empires in front. Finally, the Heavenly Cloud Nation's name moved again and jumped to the Tianhui Empire's head. The Tianhui Empire had fallen from 3rd to 4th place. Second. Someone let out an impassioned cry, and the others followed suit. Their eyes were filled with excitement, as if they were also citizens of the Heavenly Cloud Nation. The envoys of the various countries wanted to persuade the geniuses of their own countries, but unfortunately, these geniuses were too young. For young people, it was the easiest to provoke their emotions. How could they not be excited when they saw a genius appear out of nowhere? Even if he lost this competition, it was not a wasted trip. Time is almost up. General Li, stop the competition now. Long Yuan frowned slightly as he coldly ordered. He had already been surpassed by the Heavenly Cloud Empire, and he would never allow the other 2 empires to be surpassed as well. Otherwise, where would the dignity of the 3 great empires be? Wait! When the young men heard Long Yuan's order, they became anxious. Isn't it going to stop in half an incense stick's time? Why did it have to end early? This is not fair. Chapter 1003. Fair? Long Yuan sneered and glanced at General Li with a warning look. General Li stood up helplessly and said, "Everyone, I only said that the competition would end in 7 days, but I didn't specify the exact time. Therefore, I order the competition to stop now." The geniuses of the various countries became more and more excited. No one thought that the Heavenly Hui Empire would be so shameless. Seeing that the Heavenly Cloud Nation was about to reach 2nd place, and maybe even 1st place, they ordered the competition to stop. Of course, compared to these small countries, the people from the other 2 empires agreed with the Heavenly Hui Empire. After all, they didn't want to be surpassed by the Heavenly Cloud Nation, so stopping the competition now was the best choice. Guards, turn off the illusion. General Li's voice was cold and stern as he ordered. Immediately, someone stepped forward to turn off the illusion. Just as the illusion was turned off, the name of the Heavenly Cloud Nation continued to jump. Perhaps it was because the illusion was turned off, but the names of the various countries were blurred. Even so, the geniuses of the various countries still saw the last jump of the name of the Heavenly Cloud Nation. 2nd place, it must be the 2nd place. If the Heavenly Cloud Nation was given a little more time, the 1st place would have been theirs. The geniuses of the various countries were either excited or regretful, but most of them were angry at the Heavenly Hui Empire for cheating. This was the most unfair competition they had ever experienced. Fortunately, the Heavenly Cloud Nation didn't get the 1st place. Long Yuan wiped the cold sweat off his forehead and continued. Otherwise, the 3 empires would have lost all their face. If he had given the order earlier, she wouldn't have gotten the 2nd place. Thinking of the last jump of the name of the Heavenly Cloud Nation, Long Yuan felt very unhappy. At this time, The illusion was completely turned off, and the blurred words gradually returned to their original appearance. Needless to say, the first place belongs to the peerless empire. As for the second place, the geniuses of the various countries looked up at the data. However, when they saw the ranking, they were all stunned. The first place was written in the largest and most conspicuous font, but in this conspicuous position were the words Heavenly Cloud Nation. Those three words were like three faces that were looking at Long Yuan with mockery. First place? This is impossible. Long Yuan's face suddenly turned livid. There's a gap of nearly 20 points between the second and first place. How could Heavenly Cloud Nation suddenly jump to first place? No one could have imagined that the Heavenly Cloud Nation's last jump was not to the second place, but to the first place in illusion. Under the azure sky, Yin Luofeng looked at the figure lying in a pool of blood and said indifferently, I didn't think that there would be so many venerable spirit beasts appearing at the same time in this illusion. However, I still thank them for giving me points. Yishima was stunned by Yin Luofeng's behavior. Just now, a total of 5 venerable spirit beasts had rushed over, and Yin Luofeng had used some unknown attack, causing the 5 venerable spirit beasts to fall at the same time. I wonder what rank we can get based on our current data. No matter how bad we are, we should not be eliminated. Yin Luofeng raised his eyebrows and said, out of the 7 days in the illusion, there were 6 days where she did not make a move. Therefore, she did not dare to think too highly of her ranking. This was only the preliminary round. As long as she didn't get eliminated, it was fine. She wouldn't chase after a ranking in the preliminary round. Chapter 1004. Suddenly, Yin Luofeng felt the illusion twitch. She frowned and said, I remember that there is still half an hour before the end of the competition. Why do I feel like the illusion is about to close? As soon as she said this, she felt a suction pulling her out. When she recovered, she had already left the illusion and was standing in the middle of the venue. At this moment, the geniuses of other countries also appeared beside her. Everyone's eyes were still filled with confusion. They didn't seem to understand why the competition ended early. When Yin Luofeng and the others appeared, the data caused by the illusion also disappeared. Therefore, no one knew the ranking of the countries. Miss Yin, Qingmu laughed and walked towards Yin Luofeng. How do you feel these past 7 days? Yin Luofeng smiled modestly. Not bad. I hope my ranking is not too bad. As soon as he said this, the people who were chatting with the geniuses of their own countries instantly turned their eyes to Yin Luofeng. Their eyes were filled with a strange look. Yin Luofeng's heart skipped a beat. Was her ranking too bad? Even if she was late by 6 days, it shouldn't be this bad. What's more, the rules of the competition stated that as long as one's score exceeded 500 points, they could enter the semi-finals. And the spirit beast she killed had already exceeded this condition, so it was impossible for her to be eliminated. The corner of Qing Mu's mouth twitched. Not too bad. Does that mean that she thinks her ranking is very average? If the result of the Heavenly Cloud Empire was considered average, how could the geniuses of other countries live? Those who had just left the illusion still didn't understand what was going on and wanted to ask the geniuses of their own countries for advice. However, these people uniformly closed their mouths and waited for the announcement of the Heavenly Hui Empire. So much so that those people didn't know what was going on. And Lan, this competition will definitely be your peerless empire's first place again. Congratulations. The young man didn't pay attention to the noisy venue. He walked to the side of the handsome Lan and said with a smile. Lan's delicate face raised a smile. Likewise, no one can shake the position of your Liyue Empire. Haha, that's true. This time, the top 3 places are probably ours again. However, your peerless empire is my goal. One day I will surpass you. All right, I'll wait for you to surpass me. When the youths of the 2 empires met, they didn't fight against each other as everyone had imagined. Instead, they were full of fighting spirit. However, when those who knew about the rankings heard the discussion between the 2 empires, they no longer fawned over them like before. Instead, they looked at them strangely. This gaze caused the people of the 2 great empires to stare blankly for a moment, not understanding what it meant. Cough, cough. General Lee cleared his throat and looked at the crowd with a complicated expression. Since you've all come out, I'll announce the names of the top few. The geniuses from the three empires had a complacent smile on their faces. In their opinion, the top three positions were already in their hands. Third place, Flowing Moon Empire. The young man from the Flowing Moon Empire had a smug smile on his face. He looked at General Lee in astonishment. Third place? Our Flowing Moon Empire is ranked third? Who was in second place? Tianhui Empire? Damn, I didn't expect the Tianhui Empire to surpass our Luiwei Empire this time. We really underestimated them. Chapter 1005. General Lee didn't seem to hear the shouts of those people and continued. Second place, Peerless Empire. Second place is Peerless Empire? Enlon slightly squinted his eyes and turned to the geniuses of the Tianhui Empire. He cupped his fists and said, "Congratulations to all of you. This time, the first place has been taken away by you. Wait for next year. I will take it back." Haha, thank you. The geniuses of the Tianhui Empire didn't see Long Yuan's gloomy face at all. Since the Luiwei Empire was third and the Peerless Empire was second, the first place must belong to the Tianhui Empire. Some geniuses couldn't help whistling proudly to celebrate the victory of the Tianhui Empire. General Li's face became more and more ugly. He took a deep breath and said, "First place, Heavenly Cloud Nation." Heavenly Cloud Nation? Those who didn't know what was going on froze when they heard those three words. The first place is Heavenly Cloud Nation? Did they hear it wrong? Heavenly Cloud Nation actually won the first place in the preliminary round? The people of the two empires were even more shocked. Pairs of eyes quickly swept over the people of Heavenly Cloud Nation. Compared to these people, the faces of the Tianhui Empire's people became extremely ugly. They stared at the people of Heavenly Cloud Nation with anger in their eyes. Heavenly Cloud Nation won the first place? This is impossible. There must be something wrong. How could they get the first place? Qing Mu frowned slightly. He didn't like the attitude of the people of the Tianhui Empire who were unwilling to admit their defeat. In fact, Heavenly Cloud Nation won the first place in this competition. So many people saw it. How could it be fake? If it wasn't to prevent Heavenly Cloud Nation from getting the first place, His Majesty wouldn't have ordered the competition to end early. Unfortunately, even if he stopped it in advance, the first place was still won by Heavenly Cloud Nation. Long Yuan's face darkened, and he looked at Qing Mu fiercely. This old man, as a member of the Tianhui Empire, actually sided with an outsider. It seems that I really can't let him stay. Yi Shima had already recovered from his initial shock. He hugged Yin Luofeng tightly, and his handsome face was filled with an excited smile. "Sister-in-law, did you hear that? We won the first place, haha." At this moment, Yi Shima felt a sense of pride. Qing Mu's face was still full of smiles. "However, Miss Yin, I have something to ask you. Why did your Heavenly Cloud Nation score in the beginning wasn't high, but later on, it improved by leaps and bounds?" This was what everyone else wanted to ask, and it was Greenwood who asked it. Yi Shima laughed out loud and interrupted. "That's because my sister-in-law didn't fight in the past 6 days." "What? Yin Luofeng didn't make a move in the past 6 days? The battle only began on the 7th day?" Yi Shima's words had obviously shocked everyone. Perhaps no one had expected such an answer. The existence that they called a hindrance could actually rank 11th in 6 days? AI. Qing Mu smiled bitterly. "Miss Yun, I thought you were already a genius, but I didn't expect your talent to shock me. In less than a day, you made Heavenly Cloud Nation go from 11th to first place. This level of strength, I'm afraid no one can match up to him." Just then, everyone's attention had been on Yin Luofeng's subordinates. Hearing Qing Mu's words, they suddenly reacted. The difference between the 11th and first place was like heaven and earth. But in this short moment, she had surpassed him. Chapter 1006. This woman's fighting talent and medical skills were on par with each other. It was shocking. Cough, cough. General Lee coughed twice, cleared his throat, and said, "The preliminary round has ended. There are a total of 15 teams with 500 points. These 15 teams will enter the semifinals. Next, I'll talk about the requirements for the semifinals In the semifinals, each team will send 5 people to compete. To be fair, the 5 people who will compete this time will not be able to participate in the finals. Therefore, you have to think carefully about who to send. Everyone fell silent. Logically speaking, they would send their most powerful team members to compete in such a competition. That way, they could try their best to win. However, there was an additional rule. The team members who participated in the semifinals would not be able to participate in the finals. Therefore, they started to worry. Who should they send to participate in the competition? They definitely could not send their most powerful team member. They had to save it for the finals. If they sent their weakest team member, they might lose their chance in the semifinals. I'll give you time to discuss. You can do so. General Lee's gaze was extremely sharp. Also, before you choose your team members, the other teams will not know your team members. In other words, no one would know who the other team members would be. This made the competition more difficult. At this moment, General Lee's stern voice was heard again. You have 15 minutes. You can choose among yourselves. After 15 minutes, submit your team members' names. Also, only 5 teams will be selected for the finals this time. Please consider carefully. When General Lee said this, the crowd started to discuss softly. They did not dare to speak too loudly as they were afraid that their opponents would hear their team members. Sister-in-law, let me go. Ishima frowned and said. Yun Luofeng shook her head. You don't have to participate in the semifinals. Then, she looked at the rest and raised her eyebrows. Tan Shu, Cho Hongya, Gu Li Yu Tong Tong, and Lin Ruobai. The 5 of you will participate in this competition. Apart from Lin Ruobai, who had advanced to an advanced Earth Spiritualist, the rest were low-level and intermediate-level Earth Spiritualists. They were also the weakest in the army. Ishima was stunned. He frowned and said, Sister-in-law, they're all Earth Spiritualists. I'm afraid it's not appropriate. Why don't you let me go? I'll definitely win for you. You need to face the finals. You shouldn't go on stage at this time. Besides, she paused and smiled. I have confidence in my people. I have faith in my people. Hearing Yun Luofeng's words, those who had been called out all puffed out their chests and raised their heads, their tones impassioned. Master, we won't let you down. Yun Luofeng did not lower her voice like the others, and her subordinates did not conceal themselves either. Hence, the entire hall turned their attention to her. A young man from the Tianhui Empire, dressed in luxurious clothes, rolled his eyes a few times. No one knew what he was thinking, but the corner of his mouth evoked a cold, arc Miss Yun. Qingmu looked at Yun Luofeng's team, hesitated for a moment, then said, I think that you should send someone at the Heavenly Spirit stage. Otherwise, the competition this time will be a bit dangerous. No need. Yun Luofeng knew that Greenwood had good intentions, and a smile appeared on his face. Chapter 1007. Based on their strength, it's enough. Qingmu shook his head and sighed. Seeing that Yun Luofeng had made up her mind, he could not say anything else. His eyes were filled with worry. 15 minutes is up. Everyone, please hand over your name tags and allow me to explain the rules of the competition. General Lee's cold voice rang out, breaking the strange atmosphere below. The people from the various countries immediately wrote down the names of their members on a piece of paper. A eunuch then took the paper and passed it to General Lee. In this competition, only one person will fight. The winner can stay while the loser will leave. Finally, the ranking will be based on the number of people who stay. After General Lee's words fell, Qiu Feihua walked in front of Yun Luofeng at some point. With a gloomy face, he said, Yun Luofeng, your good luck ends here. This time, I will make sure you lose very badly. Obviously, in Qiu Feihua's mind, Yun Luofeng had obtained first place in the preliminary round because she was extremely lucky. In reality, she did not have much ability. Furthermore, she had been so stupid in the semifinals. She had actually only sent the Earth Spirit. Wasn't this equivalent to admitting defeat? Everyone, please take out your names. I will now announce the star of the competition. General Lee took out 2 pieces of paper and said, the first round, Wind Cloud Nation versus Peerless Empire. The geniuses from Wind Cloud Nation who were initially full of fighting spirit, immediately became dispirited. They never thought that they would meet the people from Peerless Empire in the first round. In order not to lose their powerful fighting strength, Wind Cloud Nation chose the weakest person from their group of 5. The result was obvious. The people of Wind Cloud Country had lost. They had lost completely. They could not even withstand a single blow and were thrown out of the arena. There was no suspense in the subsequent rounds. The people from the 3 great empires were like overlords with an unshakable position. Of course, each of the 5 people from each country could only participate in one battle. The loser would leave and the winner would stay. Finally, they would be ranked according to the number of winners. Lanxiang Nation against Heavenly Cloud Nation. Whether it was intentional or not, Heavenly Cloud Nation's first opponent was the Lanxiang Nation. "I'll go." Yu Tong raised her eyebrows and suggested, "No, it's too dangerous for you to face the people from Lanxiang Nation. This matter should be handled by us. Don't worry, I won't drag Master down." Yu Tong stood up resolutely. She stared at the man who was walking toward the arena and said in a firm voice, "Women?" In the arena, the man glanced at Yu Tong, who was walking towards the arena. His eyes were filled with disdain. "I, Liang, am not a person who has tender and protective feelings for the fairer sex. Don't be careful and lose your life in my hands." Liang arrogantly raised his head and mocked. Yu Tong was not affected at all. She walked firmly into the arena. "Can we begin?" She turned to the referee and asked. From the beginning to the end, he didn't even look at Liang, as if he didn't exist. In any case, this Yu Tong had been by Yun Luofeng's side for so long. She might not have learned anything else, but her arrogance had already been deeply ingrained, and she considered everyone beneath her. Liang flew into a rage and charged at Yu Tong with a loud shout. Yu Tong turned her head and quickly pulled out her weapon to counter Li Yang's attack. Bang! Li Yang's powerful attack directly hit her body, causing her body to tremble, and she took 2 steps back. After the first move, Yu Tong was at a disadvantage. Chapter 1008. Everyone shook their heads. Tianya Nation was bound to lose this time. Suddenly, Yu Tong waved her wrist, and countless flying blades cut through the sky and quickly slashed at Li Yang's neck. Liang, who wanted to continue his attack, hurriedly withdrew his momentum, turned around to avoid the flying blades, and said angrily, "You are so despicable and shameless. How dare you use hidden weapons?" Yu Tong sneered. "This is not a hidden weapon, it's an open weapon. There is no rule that only one weapon can be used in the competition." "Humph! Only the people of your Heavenly Cloud Nation would use this kind of underhanded means. Unfortunately, it's useless against me, no matter how many tricks you use." At this moment, Liang remembered Xiao Feihua's instructions. If he met people of Tianya Nation, he must kill them. A murderous look flashed across his eyes, and he rushed towards Yu Tong again. The disparity in strength made it very difficult for Yu Tong to deal with him. She could only defend against Li Yang's attack, and could not confront him head-on. Puff! Suddenly, Liang punched Yu Tong's body, and she quickly moved back. She spat out a mouthful of blood, and her face was extremely pale. Yun Luofeng. Xiao Feihua looked at the expressionless girl beside him and said coldly, "As far as I know, you are a person who values friendship and righteousness. If you kneel down and beg me, I will ask Liang to spare her life. How about it?" As if he did not hear Xiao Feihua's words, Yun Luofeng's eyes were fixed on the battle in the ring. Xiao Feihua sneered, "If you insist, don't blame me for being rude." After that, he turned to Liang and said sternly, "Liang, kill this woman." When Liang heard this, his momentum became stronger, and he shot towards Yu Tong like a sharp sword. But just as he arrived in front of Yu Tong and was about to kill her with the sword in his hand, Yu Tong suddenly held his sword tightly with both hands. Li Yang's eyes flashed with a trace of astonishment, and the strength in his palm became stronger, and he pressed the sword down hard. Don't struggle pointlessly. It's better to die early. Blood flowed down the woman's palm, but she seemed to be unaware of it, and the corners of her mouth raised into a smile. I said that I will not be a burden to the team. Bang. Yu Tong exerted force in her palm and abruptly pinched Li Yang's long sword into two halves. She held one of the halves in her hand and threw it at Li Yang. Li Yang was greatly shocked and hurriedly dodged to the side while the broken sword was inserted into the pillar. I don't want to lose, and I will not lose. Yu Tong wiped the blood from the corner of her mouth and rushed toward Li Yang at an extremely fast speed. Just as Li Yang came back to his senses, he saw Yu Tong in front of him. He used his bare hands to block her attack. At this moment, he saw that Yu Tong, who was originally empty-handed, had a sharp sword in her hand. With a poochie sound, the sword pierced through his palm. Ah! A shrill cry resounded throughout the venue. Li Yang forcefully pulled out the sharp sword in his palm and covered his injured palm. His handsome face was deathly pale as he stared at Yu Tong. He gritted his teeth and said, "Sinister villain, you sneak attacked me again." Yu Tong smiled coldly. "My master taught us that as long as we can win, we can use any despicable means. On this mainland, the winner is king, and the loser is a bandit. No matter what method you use to become a king, others only know that you are the king of this mainland." Chapter 1009. As long as you won, no one would care what method you used. The winner was the king, and the loser was the bandit. "Damn woman, I'm going to kill you." Li Yang rushed forward angrily and kicked Yu Tong's stomach. Yu Tong reacted quickly and dodged to the side. At the same time, she quickly rushed behind Li Yang and shot countless arrows from her hands. No matter how fast Li Yang dodged, 2 arrows pierced through his palm and nailed him to the pillar. "Li Yang, what's wrong with you? You can't even dodge these arrows? Now use your spiritual power to shake the arrows away." Xiao Feihua frowned and scolded angrily. At this moment, Li Yang's initial shock had turned into horror. He, who was deep in anger, only now realized that ever since his palm was pierced by the sword, he could no longer use his spiritual power. Otherwise, Yu Tong wouldn't have been able to dodge his kick, and these arrows wouldn't have hurt him. Did you poison the sword just now?" Li Yang gritted his teeth and asked. "So what if I did? So what if I didn't? You lost." Yu Tong laughed and looked at General Li. "He can't move anymore. You can announce my victory." General Li sighed with mixed feelings. He looked at Long Yuan and announced, "Heavenly Cloud Nation is the winner of this competition." The crowd was in an uproar. Yu Tong walked down under the admiring gaze of a group of people and returned to the Tianyan Nation team. After the people from the Tianyan Empire came forward to save Li Yang, the competition resumed as usual. Unsurprisingly, the people from the 3 empires all won. No one lost the competition. The people from the Cloudy Nation and the Lanxiang Nation did not meet the 3 empires and also did not lose. Even the people from the Tianyan Nation, who were not favored by the crowd, won the next competition. However, those people knew that the people from the Tianyan Nation were sneaky, so they were extra careful during the competition for fear of being plotted against. However, no matter how careful they were, they still lost. The originally invincible Luiyue Empire unfortunately met the people from the Peerless Empire. Although the people from the Luiyue Empire were also very strong, they were still inferior to the Peerless Empire and ended in defeat. Currently, other than the Peerless Empire, only the Sky Hui Empire and the Wind Cloud Nation had not been defeated yet. Next, the Heavenly Cloud Nation and the Heavenly Hui Empire. General Li's voice rang out again. After hearing this, the people of the various countries quieted down. The Heavenly Hui Empire and the Heavenly Cloud Nation were actually fighting here. Moreover, only one person from each of these 2 forces had yet to enter the arena. This time, one of the 2 countries that didn't lose would definitely lose. Little White. Yin Luofeng frowned and looked at Lin Ruobai. Lin Ruobai winked cutely. "Master, don't worry. No matter what I do, Lin Ruobai, will not lose. Because I'm your disciple. If I lose, I'll make you lose face." She didn't care about the Heavenly Cloud Nation, nor would she fight for the efforts of the other members of the Legion. She only had one goal in this battle. He would never disgrace his master. Since she was Yun Luofeng's disciple, She had never failed in her life. Once he failed, he would be tarnishing Yun Luofeng's reputation. Lin Ruobai's gaze became determined bit by bit, and he looked at the man walking towards the arena. A mid-level heavenly spirit practitioner, Zheng Lexing. Chapter 10:10. Zheng Lexing looked at the determined Lin Ruobai and couldn't help but laugh. His eyes were slanted upwards, full of mockery. "What's your name?" He raised his eyebrows and asked arrogantly. Lin Ruobai bit her lip gently and stepped into the ring. Lin Ruobai. Her voice was delicate and cute, so soft and harmless. If it was any other man, he might not be able to resist the girl in front of him, but Zheng Lexing only felt shame. If it wasn't for Tianyun, how could the Tianhui Empire be ranked 4th in the preliminary round? "I won't go easy on you." Zheng Lexing walked slowly towards Lin Ruobai and said in a voice that only the two of them could hear, "However, if you're willing to humiliate Yun Luofeng on the spot, I might spare your life." Lin Ruobai was furious and snorted, "Don't even think about it. This is your choice. Since that's the case, I won't go easy on you." Boom! Zheng Lexing's aura surged out and pressed down on Lin Ruobai's petite body. Then, a fierce palm wind suddenly appeared, and Lin Ruobai's body was suddenly sent flying. There was no way to resist. There was no suspense between an advanced earth spiritualist and an intermediate celestial spiritualist. This battle was nothing more than a one-sided situation. Lin Ruobai didn't even have a chance to resist. Staring at the battle in the ring, Yun Luofeng frowned slightly, and a cold light flashed across her eyes. The rest of the army had already won their battles. Even if they lost this battle, they could still successfully advance to the finals. So, she raised her hand, wanting to stop this battle. At this moment, she saw Lin Ruobai standing up from the ground from the corner of her eye. She also saw the determination in the girl's eyes. She wanted to fight and didn't want to give up. Sensing Lin Ruobai's emotions, Yun Luofeng was startled and slowly put down her hand. "Sister-in-law, Yi Shima was a little anxious. Your disciple is no match for Zheng Lexing. I think we should stop the battle." Yun Luofeng shook her head. "Let's wait a little longer and observe the situation. We'll make a move when we have no other choice." If Lin Ruobai wanted to fight, then she would agree. So what if she did this time? In any case, with her strength, it was still not too late for her to make a move at the critical moment. Poochie! Lin Ruobai's body flew out once again, and she spat out a mouthful of blood. However, this time, she forced herself to stand up from the ground. Her bright eyes were filled with determination. "Don't worry, I won't let you die so easily. Otherwise, how can I take revenge in your heavenly cloud nation?" Zheng Lexing sneered. He quickly arrived in front of Lin Ruobai and sent a flying kick towards Lin Ruobai's stomach. Lin Ruobai fell heavily to the ground. She felt as if all the bones in her body had fallen apart, and the pain was unbearable. Cough, cough. She coughed out a mouthful of blood and stood up again with determination. However, her palm was still covering her lower abdomen, and her delicate and cute little face was pale. This was a one-sided trampling in the face of Zheng Lexing's attacks. Lin Ruobai was completely powerless. In just a short while, he was riddled with wounds, a tragic sight to behold. Even the speed at which he stood up was not as fast as before. It was as if he had reached his limit. Enough, just admit defeat. Someone in the audience could not stand it anymore and hurriedly tried to persuade him. "Xiaobai, you're already very strong. However, the opponent is much stronger than you. Don't hold on any longer." Everyone in the army was also anxious. After spending so much time together, they had long developed a good impression of this lively and cute girl. Naturally, they did not want her to suffer so much pain. Chapter 10:11. Strong. Lin Ruobai smiled. Her smile was sad. "No, I'm not strong at all. If I was really strong, why couldn't I defeat the enemy? Why would I be a burden to you? But I don't want to admit defeat." Lin Ruobai raised her bruised face slightly. "I don't want others to say that such a powerful master accepted such an incompetent disciple. For master, even if there is only a glimmer of hope, I must win." The whole venue was quiet, and the geniuses from all the countries looked at Lin Ruobai with complicated eyes. This girl, She was only about 14 years old, but she had such a strong spirit. Even if she lost this battle, her spirit alone was enough to shock everyone. Hope. Zheng Lushing slowly walked to Lin Ruobai's side, slightly lowered his eyes, deliberately lowered his voice, and said, "You have no hope. Also, by the way, let me tell you this time, no one from the Heavenly Cloud Nation will be able to leave. Especially that girl named Yin Luofeng. She is very good-looking. If she is taken to the military camp as a prostitute, the border soldiers will be able to enjoy the blessings of women." Ha ha. Of course, these words were deliberately said by Zheng Lushing to provoke Lin Ruobai. After all, no matter how strong the Tianhui Empire was, they couldn't forcibly detain the geniuses of other countries. Otherwise, it would definitely cause the anger of other countries. Even the two empires in front of them would not allow such a thing to happen. Unfortunately, Lin Ruobai was innocent and always believed in others' words. Therefore, when she heard these words, she was completely angry and punched Zheng Lushing's chest. Zheng Lushing easily grabbed Lin Ruobai's arm and sneered. "Angry? No, I'm not just this. Your companions, the Tianhui Empire, will not leave a single one alive." Lin Ruobai trembled with anger, spat on Zheng Lushing's face, and said angrily, "You are despicable and shameless." Zheng Lushing's eyes darkened, wiped the spit on his face, and shot a gloomy look at Lin Ruobai's body like a knife. Such an uneducated wild girl. I think she was born without a mother. Lin Ruobai's body suddenly froze, and her little face was pale and colorless. Her pupils gradually shrank, and her hands and feet became cold. Mother? She really didn't have a mother, because her mother was taken away by those bad people. However, anyone who called her a bastard should die. In the arena, a strong wind suddenly blew. The girl who was originally standing in the center of the arena raised her head slightly. Her eyes turned blood red and shot out a demonic red light. At the same time, her power also improved by leaps and bounds. She broke through from a high-rank earth spirit to a sky spirit, then from a low-rank sky spirit to a mid-rank sky spirit, before finally stopping at a high-rank sky spirit. In a short period of time, her strength rose to the third order, causing the surrounding people to be dumbfounded. Zheng Lushing was stunned as he looked at Lin Ruobai in front of him. Cold sweat broke out on his forehead as he gritted his teeth and said, "Lin Ruobai, don't think that you could defeat me just because you used some secret technique to forcefully raise your strength. Generally speaking, an opportunistic person like you wouldn't be able to defeat a down-to-earth cultivator like me." Lin Ruobai didn't seem to hear Zheng Lushing's words, his red eyes staring at him coldly. "You should die." Blood flowed down from the girl's body. Her clothes had long since been soaked in blood, just like the color of her eyes. Chapter 10:12. At this moment, Lin Ruobai finally made her move. Her expression was no longer adorable like before. She was as cold and indifferent as a god of death. A murderous aura spread from her body, and she quickly charged towards Zheng Lushing. Long Yuan stood up abruptly and ordered sternly, "Quick, stop her!" Unfortunately, it was too late. A sword suddenly appeared in Lin Ruobai's hand, and she pierced Zheng Lushing's throat with it. It was as if the blood spurting out of Zheng Lushing's mouth had stimulated her, causing her blood-red eyes to flash with greed. Kill! She wanted to kill even more people. Only this fresh blood could wash away the pain in her heart. "Sister-in-law, what's going on with Xiao Bai?" Yishima was stunned. He looked at Lin Ruobai in the arena and felt that she was a complete stranger. Yin Luofeng frowned. "I don't know the specifics." When she had accepted Xiao Bai back then, little Mo had told her that Lin Ruobai's bloodline was very special and contained great power. If her guess was right, she had activated the power of her bloodline. "Master, Xiao Bai has gone crazy. Hurry up and stop her. Otherwise, she might not even recognize her own family." Little Mo's anxious voice rang out from Yin Luofeng's soul. At this moment, a few guards of the Empire had already made their move and charged towards Lin Ruobai in the arena. Their attacks were filled with murderous intent, and it was clear that they wanted to kill Lin Ruobai. Suddenly, a white robe flashed, and landed in front of Lin Ruobai. She raised her hand to block the guard's attacks. With a loud bang, the guards were sent flying out of the arena and landed pathetically on the ground. Xiaobai. Yin Luofeng wrapped her arms around Lin Ruobai's body and pressed her head onto her shoulder domineeringly. I'm sorry, I shouldn't have allowed you to participate in the competition. Don't worry, I won't let anyone bully you with me around. Clang. Lin Ruobai's fingers loosened and the blood-dripping sword in her hand slowly fell to the ground with a crisp sound. Yin Luofeng felt her shoulder soaked in liquid. She let go of the young girl in her arms and lowered her head to wipe the tears from the corners of her eyes. Her voice was full of tenderness. From the moment I accepted you as my disciple, I will be responsible for your future. It doesn't matter if your mother is not by your side. I will accompany you to find her. With Yin Luofeng's ears, how could he not hear what Zheng Lixing said to Lin Ruobai? But now that Zheng Lixing was dead, she could not make him suffer a fate worse than death. Master, Lin Ruobai's eyes were still glistening with tears, but he smiled silently. I won. I didn't lose face for you. At this moment, the red light in Lin Ruobai's eyes had already receded, and his black eyes, which were as bright as the stars, were restored. Her smile was very bright and beautiful, so bright and beautiful that it made Yin Luofeng's heart clench. Fortunately, Lin Ruobai woke up quickly. She couldn't imagine what would happen if Lin Ruobai didn't wake up. Thinking of this, Yin Luofeng's eyes narrowed unconsciously. She walked over to Zheng Lixing's body and fiddled with it for a while, then walked over to Lin Ruobai. Long Yuan had finally recovered from his initial shock. Now that he saw Zheng Lixing's body, he immediately flew into a rage. Lin Ruobai, your heavenly cloud nation is really bold. How dare you commit murder in front of me? General Li, arrest these people. This. General Li hesitated for a moment, then carefully replied, Your Majesty, swords have no eyes. The rules of our competition did not state that we cannot kill others by mistake. Chapter 10:13. Even though the one who died was a member of the Tianhui Empire, General Li still had to state the rules. Otherwise, the Tianhui Empire would be ridiculed by the world. Long Yuan snorted coldly. It is also not stated that killing is allowed. They dared to hurt the geniuses of the Tianhui Empire. This is an unforgivable crime. The geniuses from the other empires were disdainful. Zheng Lixing also wanted to kill Lin Ruobai, but Long Yuan did not stop him. Now that the one who died was a member of the Tianhui Empire, he wanted to avenge himself. Even the people from the Peerless Empire and the Luyue Empire frowned. They were obviously dissatisfied with Long Yuan's actions. However, now that the three empires were on the same side, no one stood up to say a word. General Li, what are you waiting for? Take these people down. Long Yuan roared angrily as he coldly ordered. Yes. General Li cupped his fists and ordered the guards to surround the people from the Tianyin Empire. Your Majesty, Qing Mu's expression changed. Your behavior is very inappropriate. How will the world view our Tianhui Empire? Qing Mu, do you want to commit treason? Long Yuan glanced at Qing Mu and said coldly. Qing Mu could not stand it anymore, so he stood up and said a few words. Long Yuan immediately accused him of treason. If he continued to speak, he might also be implicated. After thinking about this, Yin Luofeng raised his hand to stop Qing Mu, who was about to continue speaking. I can handle this. Qing Mu was startled and nodded helplessly. Miss Yin, you're the pride of the medical community. Today, even if I have to sacrifice my life, I will protect you until the end. It was useless to add flowers to a brocade, but it was rare to find help in a time of need. Under such circumstances, Qing Mu still stood up to protect her. Yin Luofeng would never forget this friendship. Everyone. Yin Luofeng did not look at Long Yuan, but at the geniuses from the other empires. Do you really think that Xiaobai is at fault? You all saw the situation just now. Zheng Lixing wanted to kill her first, and she only fought back. If Zheng Lixing did not die, the one who died would be my disciple. If it were any of you, what would you do? Everyone was silent. If the enemy they faced wanted to kill them, and they had the ability to fight back, they would definitely kill the enemy first. Yun Luofeng raised the corners of her lips, and a devilish smile appeared on her beautiful face. However, this Tianhui Empire intends to avenge a personal grudge. How dare you attack my disciple in the name of a referee? But since he did this to my disciple today, he will use the same method to deal with you in the future. If a referee is not fair and just, how can he convince the public? How could he convince the masses? These 4 words reverberated throughout the entire venue, causing the hearts of the geniuses from the various countries to turn cold. Indeed, without fairness, how could the masses be convinced? This matter obviously has nothing to do with the Heavenly Cloud Nation. The Tianhui Empire is using the name of the referee to avenge their personal grievances. If we sit back and do nothing today, will we be the next Heavenly Cloud Nation? Although after the last few matches, all the countries have been impressed by the Heavenly Cloud Nation. But even so, don't expect them to stand up and say anything. Not many people were as selfless as Greenwood. Therefore, Yin Luofeng had placed the Tianhui Empire on the opposite side of the other countries. He also told them that the fate of the Heavenly Cloud Nation was likely to be their future. Chapter 10:14. Long Yuan's expression changed. He glared angrily at Yin Luofeng and shouted, Yin Luofeng, don't try to mislead us. I believe that the geniuses of the various countries will not be fooled by your words. The people from the various countries did not respond to Long Yuan's words. Instead, they continued to whisper amongst themselves as they looked at Long Yuan with vigilance in their eyes. Yin Luofeng's words had already taken root in their hearts. It played a significant role. Your Majesty generally lowered his head and advised, if you want to deal with Yin Luofeng, there are other ways. If you make a move on him now, I'm afraid the other countries will be displeased. After all, Yin Luofeng is representing Heavenly Cloud Nation in this competition. Long Yuan took a deep breath. He suppressed the ball of fury in his heart and coldly said, Yin Luofeng, I will let you go this time. However, you won't be so lucky next time. Long Yuan snorted coldly. His slightly narrowed eyes flashed with a murderous intent. He gave General Li a look. Nothing needed to be said. General Li coughed twice. His dignified voice spread throughout the entire venue and silenced everyone. The semifinals have ended. The countries that have successfully advanced to the finals are Heavenly Cloud Nation, Peerless Empire, Flowing Moon Empire, Tianhui Empire, and Qiu Feihua clenched her fists tightly. If it wasn't for Yin Luofeng, she wouldn't have failed to enter the top 5. All of this was her fault. General Li glanced at Imperial concubine Ling. After receiving her gaze, he continued, Fengyin Nation and Lanxiang Nation. This time, even Qiu Feihua was stunned, let alone the others. The competition had already stipulated that only 5 teams could enter the finals. Based on Lanxiang Nation's ranking, it was impossible for them to enter the top 5. How could they enter the finals? I know that everyone has doubts. In the past competitions, if 2 teams had similar rankings, they would be decided according to their ranking in the preliminary round. In the preliminary round, Fengyin Nation was ranked ahead of Lanxiang Nation. Now that these 2 nations have won 3 matches in the semifinals, it stands to reason that Fengyin Nation is ranked 5th and Lanxiang Nation is ranked 6th. However, for today's competition, we have decided to allow Lanxiang Nation to advance to the finals. General Li's expression was solemn, and his eyes were cold. As for the Peerless Empire and Heavenly Cloud Nation, who are also in first place, I will allow Heavenly Cloud Nation to be first based on the results of the preliminary round. The whole venue was quiet, as if they didn't understand what the Tianhui Empire was planning. Yin Luofeng had already shed all pretense of cordiality with the Tianhui Empire, and now the Tianhui Empire was letting Yin Luofeng be the champion? Such behavior could not help but cause one to ponder. It was only in the next moment that everyone understood the purpose of returning to the Empire. For the sake of fairness, the Tianhui Empire will provide you with weapons in the next finals, and the last ranked team will have the priority to choose their weapon. The one ranked last has the right to choose the weapon first. In other words, Lanxiang Guo could be the first to choose a weapon, and Yin Luofeng who was the champion of the second round, could only pick up the remaining weapons of others. How could this be called fair? Many people from the various countries felt injustice for Yun Luo Feng, but at the same time, they were also bitterly disappointed by the Tianhui Empire's actions. However, they were afraid of the strength of the Tianhui Empire, so they didn't dare to say anything. They could only roll their eyes in their hearts. This Tianhui Empire is really shameless. Yishima sneered and said contemptuously. Chapter 10:15. How could he not feel that the purpose of the Tianhui Empire was to make things difficult for the heavenly cloud nation? Yun Luofeng raised his eyes slightly, and his demonic gaze swept across Long Yuan's face. A smile then appeared on his peerlessly beautiful face. Her smile was beautiful, like a flash of youth. However, everyone could feel the anger in the girl's heart, so much so that her smile was like the devil's. Big brother. She withdrew her gaze and turned to Yishima. You only need to understand one thing. For a martial artist, weapons can only play a supporting role. No matter how powerful a weapon is, in the hands of a waste, it can't play its role. When Xiao Feihua heard this, his face suddenly changed, and he shouted angrily, Yin Luofeng, what do you mean by this? Who are you calling a waste? Yin Luofeng glanced at him evilly. Whoever admits it is. Hearing this, Xiao Feihua's body trembled, and his eyes were burning with anger. He stared fiercely at the girl's beautiful face and gritted his teeth. Good, very good. I hope that you can still be so arrogant in the next competition. Generally furrowed his brows and interrupted the dispute. This competition is a mixed battle. The 6 nations will be divided into a total of 3 teams, which means that 2 nations will be in the same team. As for which 2 nations will be in the same team, it is up to you to choose. This competition was aimed at Yin Luofeng. The Lanxiang nation and the Tianhui Empire were on the same side, so they would definitely attack them first. The Wushuang Empire and the Luiwei Empire would not allow a small nation to climb over their heads, so the unlucky one would be the Heavenly Cloud Nation. There are 3 teams. The first team to go down will be the last team, then the other teams will fight. When there's only 1 team left, the 2 nations in the same team will fight. In other words, there were 2 nations in the same team. When the mixed battle began, 1 team would definitely be eliminated, and then the other 2 teams would fight. After these 2 teams had determined a winner, there was only 1 team left. Next, it would be a battle between the 2 nations in the same team. It's getting late now. Let the Lanxiang nation choose a weapon first. The others will go up later. Xiao Feihua coldly glanced at Yin Luofeng. He walked arrogantly towards the arena and picked out the best weapon from the pile. The other geniuses of the Azure Flight Nation also chose their most satisfactory weapons and stood on the arena with smiles on their faces. The nations that entered the finals also chose their best weapons, so when the people from Heavenly Cloud Nation arrived, there were only some wooden sticks and blunt swords left. Yin Luofeng looked around and casually picked up a wooden stick. He narrowed his eyes and smiled evilly. This wooden stick is not bad. It's the best choice for exploding heads. Long Yuan snorted disdainfully at the young lady's words. The outcome of this duel was obvious. The Peerless Empire and the Flowing Moon Empire would definitely form a team, while the Sky Hui Empire and the Azure Soaring Nation would form a team, leaving only the Wind Cloud Nation and the Heavenly Cloud Nation. After entering the arena, these 4 countries would definitely attack Yin Luofeng at the same time. At that time, the one whose head would explode would definitely be her. Sure enough, as Long Yuan said, the Flowing Moon Empire did not hesitate and stood together with the Peerless Empire, forming a team. The Lanxiang Nation also went to the side of the Heavenly Hui Empire. Only the people from the Wind Cloud Nation and the Heavenly Cloud Nation were left looking at each other. Chapter 10:16. Xiao Yuqing's cold eyes stared deeply at Yin Luofeng. There was a complicated look in her pitch-black eyes. I never thought that after so long, we would have the chance to fight side by side. Everyone was stunned. Xiao Yuqing, who was famous in the Cloudy Nation, was an old friend of Yin Luofeng. Could it be such a coincidence? Yin Luofeng smiled and her eyes curved. Guess, who do you think will be the champion this time? You or me? It's definitely you. Xiao Yuqing had thought that Yin Luofeng would be cold and indifferent to him. He hadn't expected that he would answer her question. Immediately, his heart relaxed, and he pursed his thin lips and said, I haven't seen you for a few years, and you've grown a lot. I'm looking forward to fighting you in the finals. The young girl's voice startled Xiao Yuqing. He raised his head with a determined look in his eyes. All right, I'll see you in the finals. These two people's words and actions had already determined that they would be the victorious team. It seemed that everyone who knew Yin Luofeng was an arrogant and egotistical person. Ridiculous. Qiu Feihua glanced at the two of them and sneered. With just the two of you, you think you can win? You can even boast to the heavens. Xiao Yuqing frowned slightly and glanced coldly at Qiu Feihua. Before he could speak, a group of people behind him could not help but stand up and scold him. Lanxiang Nation, you've been defeated by our Cloudy Nation twice. What right do you have to humiliate Master Xiao? Master Xiao is powerful. People like you can't possibly compare to him. It was obvious that in the eyes of the people of the Cloudy Nation, Xiao Yuqing was very popular. Even the princes and princesses of the royal family followed him like a lackey. Oof. Qiu Feihua's expression changed, and she scoffed. Since you're so confident, let's see which team is stronger later. The atmosphere in the arena instantly became tense. Immediately after, General Li gave an order, and everyone pulled out their weapons and charged at the enemy in front of them. Yin Luofeng and Xiao Yuqing were attacked for both sides. The two of them stood back to back and looked at the people charging towards them. Leave the people from the Peerless Empire to me. Yin Luofeng laughed softly. Her expression was relaxed, and she did not seem nervous at all. You'll handle the people from the Flowing Moon Empire. Can you do that? She did not mean for Xiao Yuqing to lead the people of Wind Cloud Country to fight against the Drifting Moon Empire. Instead, she meant for him to face all the geniuses of the Drifting Moon Empire alone. Xiao Yuqing nodded, her voice as cold as ever. All right, then let's compete and see who can finish the battle first. Yin Luofeng narrowed his eyes and smiled evilly. As for the people from the Tianhui Empire and the Lanxiang Nation, there's no need for us to take action. Let the Fengyan Nation and my subordinates deal with them. When the people from the four nations heard Yin Luofeng's arrogant words, they gritted their teeth in anger. The one in the lead was a genius from the Wuhui Empire. The killing intent on his body was especially thick, and he planned to kill Yin Luofeng in one move. When that person was right in front of him, Yin Luofeng turned his head to look at Long Yuan and asked, Can I kill during the competition? Long Yuan was stunned. If he said that he could not kill, he would not be able to use this opportunity to kill Yin Luofeng. Hence, he nodded slightly. Swords have no eyes. I can't do anything if someone accidentally kills me. If that's the case, then it's easy. Yin Luofeng smiled evilly. He raised a long rod in his hand and smashed it fiercely towards the genius from the Tianhui Empire. Chapter 1017. Bang! The sound of his head exploding rang out in the arena. His brain instantly burst out and mixed with blood, staining the back of his head. A wooden stick is indeed more handy than a sword. Yin Luofeng curled her lips and glanced at the others with an evil look. Her words were directed at Xiao Yuqing, who was behind her. Come, let's begin the competition. Let's see who can defeat their opponent first. As soon as she finished speaking, she rushed into the crowd. Yin Luofeng was a person who could distinguish between public and private matters. The people of the Tianhui Empire wanted to kill her, so she showed no mercy. However, the people of the Peerless Empire only wanted to defeat her, so she did not kill them. After all, she was not a murderer. She only killed those who wanted to kill her. Long Yuan, who was originally sneering, froze and trembled when he saw the strength of Yin Luofeng and Xiao Yuqing. Venerable spiritualists? His eyes were full of disbelief. Both of them are venerable spiritualists? Especially Yin Luofeng. He has actually reached the middle stage of the venerable spiritualist? Among the many young geniuses, only Enlan from the Peerless Empire had reached the middle stage of the venerable spiritualist. However, Enlan was a few years older than Yin Luofeng, but he was already known as a genius. If Yin Luofeng had this kind of strength at such a young age, Who in the entire continent could compare to him? Long Yuan suddenly felt a little regretful. If he had known earlier about Yin Luofeng's strength, he would not have done this. However, there was no turning back. No matter how much he regretted it, there was no turning back. Middle stage of the venerable spiritualist. Imperial concubine Ling clenched her fists tightly, her nails digging into her palms. She stared at Yin Luofeng with resentment. This brat clearly said that she was an advanced celestial spiritualist when she registered. How did she suddenly become a middle stage of the venerable spiritualist? She must be deliberately hiding her strength. If this woman was allowed to continue to grow, it would be detrimental to her. The people from the other countries were also shocked by Yin Luofeng's strength. Pairs of eyes stared at her in astonishment. When they saw that Anlan was powerless in her hands, everyone looked as if they had seen an ant raping an elephant. It was incredible. Under Yin Luofeng's attacks, the many geniuses of the Wuhui Empire gradually became disorganized. Many of them had already fallen off the arena, wailing endlessly below. Suddenly, Yin Luofeng stopped his attack and frowned slightly. Compared to the peerless empire, I don't want the people from the Lanxiang Empire and the Tianhui Empire to get a ranking. So, the girl quickly turned around, and the wooden stick in her hand set off a fierce gust of wind. The few people from the Lanxiang Nation and the Tianhui Empire who were still on the stage were swept off the stage and fell into the crowd with a bang. Anlan stared blankly at Yin Luofeng, a strange feeling spreading in his heart. When he saw Yin Luofeng walking towards him, he hurriedly raised his hand. "I'll go down myself. I don't need to trouble you." Admitting defeat was better than being swept off the stage. Therefore, Anlan tactfully jumped off the stage and nodded at Yin Luofeng. In the beginning, he indeed did not want Yin Luofeng to step on the heads of the three empires. But now, he felt that this girl was not someone who would stay in a small pond. One day, she would become a dragon from carp. Before Yin Luofeng bore a grudge against the peerless empire, he must stop and no longer oppose her. Otherwise, based on this girl's talent, it was very likely that she would attack the peerless empire in the near future. When the people from the Luiyue Empire saw that the people from the peerless empire had retreated, they did not continue to fight. Both of them jumped off the stage and left the venue in a sorry state. Chapter 10:18. They won. The team that was least favored actually won the competition, especially since this was a battle between four nations. General Li sensed Long Yuan's rage and hurriedly cleared his throat. "Since the Heavenly Cloud Nation and the Cloudy Nation have won, then the two of you can start fighting to determine a winner." Xiao Yuqing looked at Yin Luofeng and said coldly, "I forfeit." Even Yin Luofeng frowned slightly, his gaze landing on Xiao Yuqing, let alone the others. "Don't forget, we agreed to fight in the finals. Do you want to forfeit?" Xiao Yuqing nodded. "I've already placed second for Wind Cloud Nation, and I don't owe them anything. The championship is not important. Furthermore, I don't think I'm a match for you." General Li was stunned. He did not expect this to happen. Just as he was about to speak, Long Yuan's furious voice rang out. "You want to forfeit? I won't allow it. You two must fight. Since you two are old acquaintances, I will let you kill each other. This is the only way to quell my anger. If it was someone else, they might fear Long Yuan's authority." Unfortunately, the person he met was Xiao Yuqing. Xiao Yuqing had always been cold and indifferent. Therefore, Xiao Yuqing did not even look at Long Yuan. He led the people from Wind Cloud Country down the arena, leaving behind a gust of wind that made the hearts of some of the geniuses from the various countries skip a beat. "I've decided Lucini is a thing of the past to me. I've already thrown myself into Xiao Yuqing's arms. Did you see what he did just now? He's so handsome and arrogant. Compared to Xiao Yuqing, I admire Yin Luofeng more. Even though we're both women, I don't mind being a lesbian with her. I think that Xiao Yuqing and Yin Luofeng are a good match. Unfortunately, Yin Luofeng already has a husband. Perhaps it's a pity. The hall was extremely noisy. However, after these two matches, Yin Luofeng's name was destined to spread far and wide. Let's go back and rest." Yin Luofeng stretched lazily. "There's still one more match tomorrow." She narrowed her eyes slightly and her lips curled into a smile. After tomorrow's competition, she would finally be able to set off for home. The next day, at the first glimmer of dawn, the streets were already bustling with noise and excitement. The people were all discussing the battles that had taken place in the past few days. When Yin Luofen was mentioned, their gazes were filled with reverence. In the end, all the words merged into one and spread throughout the entire street. That sentence was, "Come, let's go watch Yin Luofen tame beasts." In an instant, everyone rushed to the beast taming ground. Their goal was to get a good spot early so that they could watch Yin Luofeng's match. Thus, when Yin Luofeng arrived at the beast taming ground, he was shocked by the situation before him. The entire beast taming ground was densely packed with people. Some people even occupied the walkways. If it wasn't for the fact that the dangerous beast taming ground didn't allow people to enter, perhaps this group of people would have occupied the cages for themselves. F***CK. Yishima couldn't help but curse. Why are there so many people today? Be it the medical skills competition or the martial arts competition, there had never been so many people. The geniuses of all the countries, and even the nobles of the Tianhui Empire had come a visit. Their goal was to see Yin Luofeng tame beasts. Chapter 1019. Miss Yin. A young man ran over excitedly when he saw Yin Luofeng. Impulsively, he reached out to shake Yin Luofeng's hand. However, at this moment, his arm was suddenly squeezed tightly by a large hand. Yishima held onto his arm tightly, raised his eyebrows, and said coldly, "Stay away from my sister-in-law." The young man's face turned red, and he hurriedly defended himself. "Young Master Yi, you've misunderstood me. I just admire Miss Yin too much. I was too excited just now, so I overstepped my boundaries." After saying this, the young man turned to Yin Luofeng and continued, "Miss Yin, in the previous 2 battles, you have made everyone look at the Tianyun nation in a new light. Therefore, I believe that you're also a genius in the area of beast taming. Also, I'm a doctor. Can I join the Tianyun nation and work for you?" Facing the young man whose face was filled with hope, Yin Luofeng slightly raised the corners of her lips. Her eyes were filled with an evil light. Every frown and smile of hers was extremely moving and beautiful. "If one day a force known as the Medical Tower appears, I welcome you to join the Medical Tower." As soon as she finished speaking, Yin Luofeng slowly walked towards the beast taming platform. Her silhouette was very faint, and her fine black hair was flying in the wind. The young man's eyes shone brightly as he stared unblinkingly at the girl walking away. In a firm voice, he said, "My name is Moe. If one day a force known as the Medical Tower really appears, even if I am thousands of miles away, I will definitely go." Yin Luofeng stopped in her tracks and entered the beast taming ground without looking back. In the beast taming ground, a few geniuses were already waiting. When they saw the girl enter the ground, they were all stunned and subconsciously took a few steps back. This lunatic is also participating in the beast taming competition. It looks like we have no hope of winning this time. Can we begin? Yin Luofeng looked at the referee and asked calmly. Perhaps Long Yuan and Imperial concubine Ling had not recovered from the previous incident, so at this moment, the 2 of them were not in the beast taming ground. The judge stared blankly for a moment before wiping the cold sweat off his forehead. He then smiled and said, "In a moment, I will release the spiritual beasts from the cages. The person who subdues the most spiritual beasts in half an incense stick's time will be the champion." As soon as these words were spoken, the judge immediately ordered for the cages to be opened. Instantly, the spiritual beasts, who had regained their freedom, charged out in a frenzy and pounced towards the crowd. At the same time, a faint aura emanated from Yin Luofeng's body. From afar, there seemed to be a fiery red light above her head. The light reflected the image of a fiery red 8-tailed fox. It was extremely shocking. The spiritual beasts stopped in their tracks when they sensed the young lady's aura. They stared at her in fear and did not dare to take another step forward. Just as the crowd was feeling puzzled, the spirit beasts knelt down in unison and made a gesture of submission. The direction they were facing was where Yin Luofeng was standing. All the beasts submitted. He would definitely become a king. The white-clothed girl stood with her hands clasped behind her back. She stood quietly among the beasts and accepted the worship of the spirit beasts. She was like a monarch who had descended from the heavens. Her black eyes looked down on the world with disdain and arrogance. The entire beast-taming ground was silent. Whether it was the spectators or the geniuses who were participating in the competition, they all remained silent as if they had discussed it beforehand. Chapter 10:20. Everyone's eyes fell on Yun Luofeng. There was shock, doubt, and admiration in their eyes. Originally, they thought that Yun Luofeng's medical skills and combat skills were exceptional. They didn't expect her to be an expert in beast taming. Just by standing there, all the beasts knelt down in submission. Who in the world could have such ability? Can the competition end now? The girl's lazy voice finally brought the judge back to his senses. He wiped the blood and sweat off his face again and said with a bitter smile, "You are already the champion." However, because of this abnormality, he couldn't come up with a new ranking. It seemed that he had to inform His Majesty and reorganize the competition for the geniuses from the other countries. "Let's go." Yun Luofeng shrugged his shoulders, turned around, and walked over to Yishima and the others. "The competition is over. Big brother, go and collect your prizes. I will go back and rest first. We will return tomorrow." The prizes for every match were extremely generous, and Yun Luofeng, that freak, had won 3 in a row. Thinking of this, everyone looked at Yun Luofeng in awe. After this competition, the status of the heavenly cloud nation will rise immensely among the nations. In the inner courtyard of the palace, Long Yuan, who was reading memorials in the imperial study, fell silent when he heard his subordinate's report. A strange feeling emerged in his heart. Perhaps making an enemy of Yun Luofeng was a wrong decision. However, there was no turning back. He could only brace himself and continue down this path. "Your Majesty, Master Qing Mu is here to see you." Suddenly, a eunuch hurried in and reported. Long Yuan frowned slightly, his face expressionless. "Let him in. I want to see what he is here for." The eunuch obeyed the order and left. Not long after, Qing Mu, dressed in a green robe, walked in from outside the door. He cupped his fists and said directly, "Your Majesty, I am already old. There are many things in the Imperial Hospital that I am unable to do. Please allow me to retire and return home." Long Yuan was taken aback. Even though he had long wanted to chase this old man away, he felt that something was not quite right when the old man had come forward to hand his resignation letter. Hence, with a cold expression, he asked, "Qing Mu, did the Peerless Empire and the Flowing Moon Empire try to rope you in? So you plan to follow them?" As for the other countries, that was because it was impossible for those small empires to offer anything that could move Greenwood. The only ones who could poach him away were those 2 empires. Qing Mu lowered his head and cupped his fists. "Your Majesty, your subject can swear that after I leave, I will not join either the Peerless Empire or the Flowing Moon Empire. Your Majesty can rest assured." Hearing this, Long Yuan nodded. "Qing Mu, since you've made up your mind, I'll allow you to retire and return to your hometown." "Thank you, Your Majesty." The corners of Greenwood's lips curled up into a relaxed smile. He was finally able to unload this burden and live the life he wanted to live. After Qing Mu left the imperial study, Long Yuan picked up his brush and was about to continue reading the memorials when a eunuch came to report that Guiyang was requesting an audience. Long Yuan frowned as an ominous feeling slowly rose from the bottom of his heart. He lifted his head, and a sharp light flashed across his dark eyes. Guiyang is here to seek an audience? Could it be that this old fellow was going to hand in his resignation, like Qing Mu? Unexpectedly, just as Long Yuan was thinking of countermeasure, Guiyang rushed into the imperial study in a panic and knelt in front of Long Yuan with a thud. Chapter 10:21. Your Majesty, something bad has happened. My disciple has just killed someone from the Peerless Empire. Long Yuan's heart skipped a beat. His face darkened as he asked, "What is going on?" Guiyang's eyes were full of panic. "My disciple had a dispute with the prince of the Peerless Empire and accidentally killed him, causing the people of the Peerless Empire to want to capture my disciple. In order to protect my disciple, I seriously injured several of the geniuses of the peerless empire. What should I do? Seeing Gu Yang's genuine panic, Long Yuan's heart gradually sank to the bottom of the valley. He had already let Qingmu go. Was he going to let this old man, Gu Yang, go as well? If he continued to let him stay, he might drag down the Tianhui Empire. Gu Yang, since this matter was caused by you and your disciple, I will leave it to you. I will not interfere. Your Majesty. Gu Yang crawled forward and pleaded, I have worked for the Tianhui Empire for so many years. How can you leave me in the lurch? I will not leave the Tianhui Empire, even if I die. Seeing the old man's shameless appearance, Long Yuan's face became even more ugly. You have committed a mistake. Why should I help you? Someone, expel Gu Yang and his disciple from the palace. They are not allowed to step foot in this life. Gu Yang lowered his head, unable to see the expression on his old face. He slowly climbed up from the ground and said in a trembling voice, Your Majesty, you mean, as long as they are listed as my disciple, they will be expelled from the Imperial Hospital? That's right, Long Yuan said impatiently. The peerless empire is powerful. Even the Tianhui Empire cannot compete with them. Do you want me to take the blame for you? In the Imperial Hospital, besides the two old men, Qingmu and Guiyang, he still had many excellent doctors. Naturally, he did not mind losing them. Guiyang kept his head down and said, Since your Majesty has decided to give up on me, I will take my leave. He turned around, and at that moment, a smile appeared on his slightly raised face. With his hands behind his back, he strode out of the imperial study. As if he felt the sharp gaze behind him, Guiyang quickly put away his high spirits and walked out of the room like a stray dog. After leaving the imperial study, he raised his head and rushed out of the palace with a smile on his face. Inside the inn, Enlon gently swirled the teacup in his hand with a smile on his lips. He raised his eyes slightly and turned to the old man who had just pushed open the door and said with a faint smile, Master Guiyang, did you succeed? Yes. Guiyang smiled and said, However, we should put on a good show so that Long Yuan won't regret it. I hope that your highness will go to the palace to settle the score with Long Yuan. I hope that your majesty will go and help. Grandmaster Guiyang, I know that you and Grandmaster Qingmu left to seek refuge with Yin Luofeng. And Lan's lips curled into a faint smile. If the peerless empire is in the empire, I master, you. I master. You king. I master, I master, I. Lan could see it clearly. At first, he was just like the flowing moon empire, unwilling to let the heavenly cloud empire take first place. But later, he stopped in time and tried to repair the relationship between the two sides. Chapter 1022. This was a rare and commendable trait among the young and vigorous geniuses. By the way, how many doctors did you take with you this time? Lan looked up at Guiyang and asked curiously. Guiyang chuckled. Except for those who don't have a good relationship with me, I took the rest. Lan was a little surprised. Long Yuan allowed you to do this? Of course not. Guiyang smiled mysteriously, but I mentioned it at the end. I asked him if those who were my master and disciple would be expelled. Just yesterday, I changed the registration of those old men to be my master and disciple. Long Yuan probably didn't expect that Guiyang would set such a big trap for him. Of course, in order for this to continue, there was a condition. That was, His Majesty was forced to leave the Tianhui Empire. This matter needed Lan's help. Lan pretended to be angry and brought the people of the peerless empire to find Long Yuan. Long Yuan was forced to hide with imperial concubine Ling. During this time, the people in the palace saw the registration of the elders of the imperial hospital. They couldn't find Long Yuan to report the situation, so they could only expel everyone from the palace. When Long Yuan returned to the Tianhui Empire and saw that there were only a few people left in the imperial hospital, he was so angry that he wanted to tear the sky apart. At that time, he realized that he had been tricked. Unfortunately, it was too late. That day, after Yin Luofeng received the prize, she rushed to Tianyin without even saying goodbye to Qingmu. She knew that on the day her medical tower was established, Qingmu would definitely come. Tianyin Nation. Yi family's mansion. Jun Fengling was directing the servants to decorate the mansion while Yi Jingshun was helping her. At this time, a surprise voice was heard. Young master, young madam, Miss Yun and young master Mo are back. Feng and Xia Mo are back. Jun Fengling was happy and quickly walked out of the door. Her face was full of excitement as her eyes stopped on the young girl who was slowly getting off the horse. Fenger, you're finally back. Her eyes were sparkling and she was smiling. Yin Luofeng's gaze swept around, looking at the Yi family mansion that was covered in red silk. He raised his lips and said, Mother, who in the Yi family is getting married? Jun Fengling chuckled. We've discussed it over the past few days. We've decided to wait for you to come back before letting your second uncle and Miss Ning get married first. I've already decorated the house. Once you're back, they can hold the wedding. Yin Luofeng's heart was moved. Before Ning Xian had met second uncle, she had already been subdued by second uncle's elegance. She had been secretly in love with him for a long time, and it had finally come to fruition. It had not been easy. Fenger, how was the competition this time? Yi Jingxin smiled as he walked over. His voice was as gentle as jade. Jun Fengling glared at him and said angrily, It's enough that the children are back. Why do you still ask about the result of the competition? Whether we win or lose in this competition, it won't affect us. In her heart, there was nothing better than being together as a family. So what if he lost the competition? She never cared about success or failure. Godmother, Yishima laughed and walked forward. I won't tell you the result of this competition for now. It won't be long before you know it. There were countless countries participating in this competition. With the speed at which these countries spread the news, it was bound to reach Tianyun Nation soon. Chapter 1023. At that time, he would definitely give his adoptive parents a pleasant surprise. It doesn't matter if you lost, adoptive mother won't mind. You must be tired from the journey. I'll let the maidservants take you to rest. Seeing that Yishima was unwilling to tell the result of the competition, Jun Fengling thought that it was another failure, but she didn't blame him. Instead, she comforted him. The competition focused on the process, not the result. The return of Yin Luofeng and the others caused a great uproar throughout the Tianyun Nation. Many people came to visit them. Even the palace sent people to greet them. But it was inevitable that anyone who wanted to ask about the result of the competition was stopped by Jun Fengling. In this way, it created an illusion that Yin Luofeng and the others must have failed. The emperor was a little disappointed, but he didn't blame the Yi family. After all, Yin Luofeng was willing to go to the Tianyun Nation, which was already giving him a lot of face. What right did he have to blame her? What's more, if it weren't for her, the empress wouldn't have woken up. The emperor didn't blame the Yi family, but it didn't mean that other people wouldn't talk about the Yi family. Just as the Heavenly Cloud Conference was about to begin, an uninvited guest came to the Yi family in the hall. Qing Mu leisurely sipped the tea in his hand, his face full of praise. This Yi family's tea is really not ordinary. I've never tasted such delicious tea before. Hee, looks like I'll be staying here for the rest of my life. It is indeed good tea. Guiyang smiled slightly, his eyes swept outside the hall. I wonder when she will come? Just as he said that, an old man hurried in from outside the door. When he saw the two old men sitting and sipping tea, his face suddenly changed, and he quickly greeted them. Grandmaster Qing Mu, Grandmaster Guiyang, why are you here? With the status of the Yi family's old man, he naturally knew Qing Mu and Guiyang, but what puzzled him was why these two old men came to the Yi family. Did Yin Luofeng cause trouble in the Tianhui Empire? Oh, we are here to see Yin Luofeng. The Yi family's old man's heart skipped a beat, and he hurriedly said, Grandmasters, Fenger is a junior. If she has offended you, I will apologize on her behalf. I hope you two grandmasters can forgive her for her young age. Offended? When did she offend us? Greenwood looked at him in confusion. We're here to fulfill our promise to follow her. So why are you apologizing for her? Old man Yu was dumbfounded and petrified on the spot. Did Master Qing Mu just say that he came to follow Feng? Did he hear wrongly? What's going on? Old man Ye's lips trembled slightly. What happened today was beyond his knowledge, so much so that he couldn't wrap his head around it. You still don't know what happened? Qing Mu asked in surprise. Then you should know about the medicine tower of the heavenly Hui Empire, right? Old man Yi nodded in a daze. He didn't know about the medicine tower. This time, in order to make things difficult for Miss Yun, Long Yuan had purposely activated the array used for the Imperial Hospital assessment. Back then, I had only managed to reach the 5th level. However, your family's Yin Luofeng had climbed to the 8th level at an extraordinary speed and won first place in the medical competition. Boom! Hearing Greenwood's words, the old man's mind exploded. He stood there, dumbfounded, unable to recover for a long time. Yin Luofeng won first place in the medical competition? Did he hear it correctly? Chapter 10:24. It seems that you really don't know what happened. Gu Yang smiled slightly. Miss Yun not only won first place in the medical competition, but she also won first place in the martial arts competition and the animal taming competition. Old Master Yi had gone from shock to stupor. His heart was filled with mixed feelings, and then a sense of pride arose spontaneously. Although Yin Luofeng was not his granddaughter-in-law, Jun Fengling was already the daughter-in-law of the Yi family. Yin Luofeng was naturally also counted as a member of the Yi family. She had great achievements. Of course, the Yi family would be honored. Someone invite young master, young madam, and Yin Luofeng. After coming back to his senses, Yi Tian hurriedly ordered. The servant took the order and left. After a while, Jun Fengling and Yin Luofeng appeared in the sight of Gu Yang and the others. The young girl's clothes were whiter than snow, and she was extremely beautiful. After she narrowed her eyes and glanced at the few old men, the corners of her lips curled up into a slight smile. Why are you here? Didn't I say before that on the day of the establishment of my medical tower, you can find me there? Qing Mu laughed twice and stood up. Miss Yin, we have already submitted our resignation to His Majesty. Now we have nowhere to go, so I discussed with Gu Yang and came here to find you. Jun Fengling and Yi Jingchun still didn't know what had happened, and they unconsciously looked at each other. Qing Mu and Gu Yang of the Tianhui Empire resigned their positions and came to find Feng Er. What was going on? Yi Tian seemed to see the doubts of the two and explained with a smile. Jun Chun you probably don't know yet, but Feng Er has already won first place in the National League. What? First place? Jun Fengling's eyes turned to Yin Luofeng, and her tone was excited. Is this true? You really won first place? Even though Jun Fengling didn't care about Yin Luofeng's results, if her daughter-in-law could win the championship for the Tianyin Empire, how could she not be excited? Under Jun Fengling's gaze, Yin Luofeng nodded. I wanted to find a chance to tell you about this, but I didn't expect the two masters Qing Mu and Gu Yang to come here. With Yin Luofeng's acknowledgement, Jun Fengling's eyes were filled with joy. Feng Er, which competition did you win first place in? Not only was his daughter-in-law's medical skills outstanding, but her combat skills were also unparalleled. That was why Jun Fengling had asked such a question. Yi Tian looked at Yin Luofeng with a complicated expression. This girl got first place in 3 subjects. The meaning of being first in 3 sects was unclear. Therefore, after saying this, Yi Tian clearly saw that Jun Fengling's expression was exactly the same as when he had just heard about it. His mood suddenly became much better. It was better for everyone to be frightened than for him to be the only one. Yi Tian's lips curled up slightly with a smug look on his face. Feng Er. Jun Fengling recovered from her shock and gently held Yin Luofeng's hand. Her heroic features were filled with pride. I'm proud of you. She believed that if this matter were to spread out, it would definitely cause a huge uproar in the mainland. Master Yi, is your Yi family having a happy event recently? Guiyang looked at the lanterns outside the house and asked curiously. Yi Tian nodded gently and said with a smile, in a few days, it will be Feng Er's second uncle's wedding ceremony. If the two masters have nothing to do, please stay here for a few more days and have a drink. Chapter 10:25. That's good. Qing Mu's skin had always been thicker than the city wall. He smiled and said, if that's the case, this old man will stay for a few days. Yin Luofeng did not object to Qing Mu and Gu Yang staying. After exchanging a few words with the two old men, she returned to her room and continued to cultivate. Only by becoming stronger would she be able to go to another place and find the lover she would be with for the rest of her life. Even if the Yi family did not spread the news, Yun Luofeng's actions in the Tianhui Empire had already spread to the Heavenly Cloud Nation. It caused quite a stir in the Heavenly Cloud Nation. This was especially so for those who thought that Yun Luofeng had lost the competition. They had been ruthlessly slapped in the face by reality. They were so ashamed that they could not face anyone. It turned out that it was not because she had lost the competition that she did not speak about the Tianhui Empire. It was because the girls simply did not want to speak about it. It was ridiculous that they thought that she was too ashamed to stand up and say a word. Winning 3 competitions in a row was something that had never happened before. But now, because of Yun Luofeng's appearance, this rule was broken. What's more, she actually won all 3 competitions. Even the imperial doctors of the Tianhui Empire praised her. For a time, the entire Heavenly Cloud Nation was in turmoil. The Yi family, which was already crowded like a marketplace, became even more lively. At this moment, in the imperial study of the palace, the emperor hurriedly put down the pen and paper in his hand when he saw Yun Luofeng walk in. His handsome face was full of smiles. "Miss Yun, this time I came to you because I have something to discuss with you." Yun Luofeng raised her eyebrows slightly and asked, "What is it?" "The specific matter is related to this time's tournament." The emperor smiled and said, "According to the rules, this time our Heavenly Cloud Nation won first place, so the other countries will give some land to the Heavenly Cloud Nation. Therefore, I intend to give this land to you." Yun Luofeng's fingers gently stroked her chin, her black eyes flashing. She had been worrying about where to build the medical tower. Now that the emperor had given her a fief, it just happened to solve this problem for her. "Good." Yun Luofeng smiled lazily. He raised his black eyes slightly and said in an evil voice, "After my second uncle gets married, I will go to my fief." "Ha!" The emperor was in a good mood and couldn't help but laugh. "Miss Yun, it is my honor to have a genius like you in our Heavenly Cloud Nation. You can rest assured that I will take care of your family." The emperor was the ruler of the world, so his words naturally carried enormous weight. In the end, he fulfilled his promise and did his best to protect the Yun family until Yun Luofeng returned. If not for him, perhaps Yun Luofeng would not have made it home in time. Yun Xingya's wedding was very grand. On that day, the entrance of the Yi family was almost blocked by the flow of people. If not for the fact that the palace had sent people to maintain order, perhaps those late guests would not have been able to enter the Yi family. Inside the mansion, it was decorated with lanterns and streamers. Maids and servants came and went, preparing the wedding banquet for the guests who came to congratulate them. The old man's face was full of smiles. In the face of the congratulations from these dignitaries, he was so proud that his beard was about to reach the sky. Just at this moment, a voice rang out. It was very clear in this noisy mansion. The envoy of Yulin Kingdom has come to send a congratulatory gift to congratulate young Master Qingya. The old man was startled for a moment. He subconsciously turned his head to ask for Yun Luofeng's opinion. Chapter 10:26. Yun Luofeng's lips curled up, and a wicked smile appeared on her beautiful face. "Other than this Yulin Kingdom, there will be people from many other countries coming to congratulate you. No matter what gifts they bring, you can accept them all." The old man's eyes brightened. He laughed and said, "I love accepting gifts the most. I'll accept as many as you have." After a while, the messenger from the Yulin Kingdom walked in with big steps and a smile on his face. "Master Yun, Lady Yun, our kingdom's emperor heard that today is young Master Yun's big day. So he specially asked me to bring a gift. Please accept it." Though he was speaking to Old Man Yun, his eyes were fixed on Yun Luofeng. Obviously, in his heart, Yun Luofeng was more important. After all, the reason why His Majesty ordered him to bring gifts was to build a good relationship with Yun Luofeng. That way, it would be easier for him to seek medical help in the future. Master Yun coughed and accepted the gift without hesitation. "I'll accept the gift on behalf of my son. Since you've come from afar, you should drink a cup of wine before you leave. Servants, prepare a seat for this messenger from Yulin Kingdom." "Thank you, old man." The messenger cupped his fists and was led to the banquet by a servant. After the messenger sat down, people from other countries came to congratulate them. Needless to say, they were all holding expensive gifts. This time, the old man was not having it. "No, these gifts are mine anyway. It's too unfair. I've decided I'm going to have a big birthday banquet and let all these people give me gifts." The old man glared at him and snorted. Yun Luofeng looked at the old man. "If I remember correctly, your birthday has passed. Can't we just have another one?" The old man rolled his eyes. He counted with his fingers and said to himself, "Other than my birthday, I'm going to have a wine-tasting party and invite all the old men from different countries. Of course, they have to give me gifts. If they don't, they won't be allowed to come in. Oh, right. Hurry and find Yin Xiao to marry. I'll pay for the gifts you receive." Yin Luofeng's eyebrows twitched, and a row of black lines appeared on her forehead. She helplessly looked at the scheming old man. You can set another old man's day, where you can celebrate your birthday 10 times a year. Having 10 birthdays is a little unreliable, but although I've never heard of this senior's day, it doesn't stop me from including it. I've decided to do it this way from now on. Yin Luofeng's expression darkened even more. He reckoned that in a few days, the treasuries of all the countries would be emptied by this old man. His Royal Highness, Prince Anlin of the Peerless Empire, has sent someone to deliver a congratulatory gift. Princess Qing Shuang of the Luiwei Empire has sent someone to congratulate Lord Qingya. Suddenly, two voices rang out at the same time, instantly attracting everyone's attention. The Peerless Empire and Flowing Moon Empire had also come. This Yin Luofeng actually had the face to invite people from these two empires. When Yin Luofeng heard this voice, she slightly raised her eyebrows. She raised her black eyes and looked at the envoy who had just entered the house. It was unknown when Guiyang had walked in front of Yin Luofeng, but he smiled and said, "Miss Yin, the reason I was able to leave the Tianhui Empire this time was all thanks to Prince Enlan's help. He helped me with only one request. If the Peerless Empire is in trouble in the future, he wants Miss Yin to lend a hand. Of course, if you are unwilling to help, he will not force you." Chapter 10:27. As for Princess Qing Shuang, Guiyang paused, then continued. She is considered a rare existence in the Flowing Moon Empire. Even though Princess Qing Shuang is not strong, her medical skills are excellent. However, I don't know why she did not participate in the tournament this time. I also don't know why she sent someone to congratulate Sir Qingya. Yin Luofeng stroked his chin and thought for a while. Those who come are guests. Grandfather, please entertain the guests. The old man gradually recovered from his shock. Although he had not been on this mainland for long, he knew of the three famous empires. Now, the two highest-ranked empires had come to congratulate Yin Qingya. Just as the old man was hesitating, the messengers from the two empires walked forward one after another. The messenger from the Peerless Empire was an old man. He smiled amiably and said, "Old Master Yin, my prince has asked me to give you a congratulatory gift to congratulate young Master Yin on your marriage." A delicate laugh came from his side. A beautiful woman walked forward, smiling without showing her teeth. Her curved eyebrows were captivating. "You must be Miss Yin?" Princess Qing Shuang heard about Miss Yin's great achievements in the tournament and wanted to come personally. However, something came up, so she asked me to come in her place. This is a congratulatory gift prepared by the princess. Please accept it. The old man bluntly took the box from the beautiful woman and laughed. "Servants, show the two envoys their seats." The beautiful woman smiled. Before leaving, she looked at Yin Luofeng again and said, "Miss Yin, the princess asked me to remind you to be careful of the Tianhui Empire." Everyone could hear the intention of the Flowing Moon Empire to befriend them. Therefore, everyone had a higher opinion of Yin Luofeng. Of course, Yin Luofeng did not care much about this. In her opinion, if she wanted people to look up to her, she had to rely on her own strength to stand at the top of the mainland. Although the Peerless Empire and the Flowing Moon Empire were trying to please her, if she did not have strength, why would these two empires look up to her? In the end, strength was the most important thing. Yin Luofeng slightly lowered her eyebrows. her black eyes filled with determination. After second uncle got married, it was time for her to leave the imperial city and go to the fief to develop her own power. Endless City. Within a radius of 100 li, there was nothing but flat land. The Endless City was divided into 4 parts. The East City was filled with the rich and powerful. The South City was flourishing with commerce, and the North City was filled with well-off families. Only the West City was a place where a group of people at the bottom of society lived. There were also countless wastelands that no one exploited, causing the West City to become desolate. However, the western part of the city was exceptionally lively today. There was no other reason than that the western part of the city, which had not been visited for a long time, welcomed a group of foreign guests. It was said that the leader of the group was a woman who was extremely beautiful. Dressed in white, she looked like a celestial who had walked out of a painting. She was more beautiful than any other woman in Endless City. Therefore, when the residents of West City heard about this, they all rushed over to watch the show. Miss Yin, are we really going to take root in this western city? Within a wasteland in the western part of the city, Greenwood was following behind Yin Luofeng. He looked at the wasteland and slightly frowned as he asked. Yin Luofeng nodded. The land in the west side of the city is cheaper. Greenwood's mouth twitched. I heard that Endless City was given to you by the Emperor. Do you still need to spend money to buy land on your own land? Yin Luofeng paused and smiled. She looked back at Greenwood and said, I don't want people to know that Endless City is managed by me for now.